All right, Jon Benson, copywriting extraordinaire, billion-dollar copywriter. Welcome. Thanks for joining me today, man.
Thank you, Miles. Great to be with you, man.
Yeah, totally. So today, the broad intention is to help my audience understand how to recession-proof and inflation-proof their business and their lives. To do this, I think you're probably one of the best people in the world to talk about because you've driven literally billions with a B dollars in revenue for your clients over the years
Mhm.
through the art of selling things through the written word, essentially,
Mhm.
like if we were to try to not use industry jargon for it. So,
Mhm.
what I want to do today, if you're willing, is I want to go back to your roots, to your beginning, to that transition point to where you went from doing something in real life and
Mhm.
then learning and realizing that you could kind of transition that online and how that maybe even opened you up to the potential of scale. And
Yeah.
then we'll kind of cover a little bit more of your story, but really for people and the meat and potatoes that we're going to get into are kind of like the three keys, the three things that everyone can do in their business and in their life right now to start to skill
Mhm.
up to safeguard themselves, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a wave coming, and let's be in
Mhm.
position to ride
Yeah.
this wave instead of getting
Yeah.
hammered in the impact zone.
Yeah.
So,
100%. So,
so your first niche, right? I
mhm.
believe that
Mhm.
you entered this space in the nutrition space. Can
Yeah.
you take me back? Like, what year were we at? What were you doing in the 3D world in real lif? And then
Yeah.
where was that idea, that spark of like, man, I might be able to do this on that old internet thing? And where did that
Yeah.
transition happen for you?
This was complete, and I think of it as complete luck. I mean, as far as like, I had no intentions of doing this whatsoever. When people asked me about copywriting, I had no intentions, even when I was a copywriter. I didn't think I was a copywriter. So I think if anyone's a beginner or just getting started, you may find a little inspiration in the story. I'm not saying that I'm like Rudy or anything, somebody to make a movie about, my but I did get started in kind of a weird way. I started my own business when I was right out of college, and I decided to be a graphic designer without knowing what a graphic designer was. I just liked the way it sounded. And so I was trying to prove to myself, hey, I can do whatever I put my mind to. I was reading a lot of Tony Robbins books and Zig Ziglar and a lot of these motivational giants, and it got me thinking that I didn't want to go down a corporate rabbit hole.
Yep.
And so I just quit my 6 month corporate job cold turkey with like $600 in the bank, and decided to do this. And that wild throw complete cold spaghetti at a wall and see if anything sticks actually did stick. It just took a long time, clearly, because you have to have a skill set to be a graphic designer. As it
Yeah.
turns to find out, it helps to be able to draw, which I can't draw. So but I was going to prove it that I was going to do this. So I did that for 14 years. And so that's important to understand leading up to this time, because during those 14 years, I got really, I don't know if I can swear on here, but I got really freaking fat. I got really fucking fat, man.
Okay.
I got really, really sick.
Physically, like you literally, like you were carb loading, sitting on a computer, total
Yeah.
sedentary, and just getting larger
Yeah.
and larger by the day.
I was okay. So if I showed you pictures, in fact, I can probably send them to you so you can, your editor, if you do any editing and all, can splice them in. But yeah, it's pretty funny. I had a mullet. It was pretty funny. The mullet wasn't as bad as I make it out to be, but it was there. and and dude, I mean, I just basically became this workaholic doing design. I got into computer coding, like weird stuff, like things. And I'm a musician, so I was playing gigs at night, and I just the whole thing just started spiraling downward really really quick as far as my health goes. And people thought because I was a musician I was doing, because I'll tell you, I had a heart attack in my 30s. So that
Oh,
usually doesn't
wow.
happen unless you're really abusing yourself. And I had terrible genes, and I still do have terrible genes, but I was not doing any drugs at all, any recreational drugs, not drinking. So it just really bad, horrible diet combined with bad, horrible genes, and working 18 to 20 hours a day. So ridiculous levels of stress. And I was into bodybuilding as I am now. I'm in nutrition and fitness training and stuff throughout college. And I wasn't very good at it, but I was into it and studied nutrition in college. Actually, ended up getting certified in clinical nutrition, and and so I just got out of college and forgot everything. And I just basically dove into workaholism, and that meant pizza and burgers and whatever I could. I got addicted to sugar. And so when I had a heart attack at 38, I realized that And it wasn't one of those heart attacks that you're going, oh, my chest kind of hurts. It's one of those heart attacks that you see in a movie where you wake up at 4 a.m. and you're writhing on the floor in pain. And thank goodness my girlfriend at the time was there. If she had not been there, I would be dead. It was, yeah, so I had to be care flighted out where we were at, because we were in a suburb of Dallas and we were still too far away by the time they got to me to adequately get me to the hospital they needed to get me to. So I had the joy of riding in a care flight helicopter with my nose literally pressed up against the metal of the copter, and 4:30 in the morning, and I'm thinking of all the things I didn't do, all the regrets I have in my life. And I was just like, I'm just not ready. This is just awful, and then how much I let myself down, with this. The only thing I've ever been addicted to, other than diet soda, which is another story, a diet soda addiction, big time. I drank 6 to 8 a day until 3 years ago or 2 years ago. So, but I was addicted to sugar as much as anyone could be addicted to sugar, I think. But that whole thing led me to be 275 pounds. And wow. I had a 49-inch waist. So if you can picture that, that's pretty. So I was skinny. The term we use in body recomposition is skinny fat, but I was just skinny obese. I had, these little bitty arms, and I had little bitty legs, and I had this big fucking, belly, swallowed a basketball belly. And I got pictures to prove all this, by the way. So, and when I had the heart attack, I was like, okay, I've got to do something with my life. I know what to do. I just got really, really lazy into doing it. And that will jumpstart your ass really, really quick when you are suffering, when you have a wake up with an elephant on your chest, and your doctor goes, well, you were minutes away from dying there. We kind of thought you were going to die. And I'm like,
you're staring at death's door. Like the whole priority list of life, the reevaluation of everything begins immediately. It's a traumatic experience in many ways.
Yeah. And what's interesting is I'd actually started right before then to start losing weight, getting back into, I don't think of losing weight. I think of, because I come from a competitive world, I think of, okay, I'm going to get my abs back. I'm going to recompose my body recomposition. And I'd already started doing that. So, by the time I had the heart attack, I was in okay shape, but all the damage had been done. So, and then the cardiologist told me, he looked at the artery, goes, man, this artery is just completely diseased. It's been diseased since birth. I mean, and this explains a lot of things, so he goes, you'll probably have to get a couple more stents in this thing as you go older, but because it's just really pretty fucked up. And the rest of my arteries were blocked pretty significantly, like 30 to 40%. And so I knew I had to do something, otherwise I was going to die at 40. My grandfather died at 40, so I had inherited those genes. And I'm telling you all this because part of the decision was to not only return to as fit as I could be, but help others do this and help others avoid it.
Yep.
I had no marketing background at all. I was a designer. I was a musician. I was an arty kind of guy. But
you just had this experience that was so intense that you're like, it's one of those, I'm going to commit to making sure nobody goes through this bullshit because I knew better. I made stupid choices. I can look back and be like, damn it, that was dumb. It got me to here.
Yeah.
You have all the pieces of the puzzle, they were in the wrong order, and it's like, man, I'm going to put these puzzle pieces together in the right order and help others with the same sort of thing.
Exactly. I cannot even fathom to this day what the fuck I was thinking and why I was doing that. I mean, I know psychologically, my wife is a psychologist. I understand, and I was a minor in psychology, so I understand self-abuse. I understand, all those kind of things I had to work through from a deep, spiritual / psychological point of view. But to go to this extreme, I literally had one of the first therapists that I saw after this. She said, you're the only person I've met in 20 some odd years of doing this that was not sexually abused or physically abused as a child and does not do drugs and is this fucked up. So, I mean, she literally just said that. So this disturbingly self-destructive, you're not doing things like normal self-destruction mode would be, I'm going to drink, I'm going to smoke, I'm going to take drugs, I'm going to slice my wrist. It didn't do any of that stuff. I just turned to food. So I joked at her. I said, yeah, I guess I'm just, for being a martial artist, I'm kind of a coward. So maybe I just took the coward's way out. But I knew all the stuff going in there that I knew how to do it. I grew up as an athlete, and I knew how to do it. I dove into the nutrition side. And the reason why this is important is because I decided to write a book when I turned 39, because I was getting in really good shape at the time. And I said, I'm approaching the big 40, and I'm just going to write a book. And I called my friend at the time and said, will you help me put this book together? I don't want it to be about me. That's just too arrogant. So let's make it about me. And since it's 40, why don't we do 40 other people, all fit over the age of 40, from 40 to 90, like not just 40, because I'm barely going to turn 40. And that became Fit Over 40. And I put this book together before I ever met my marketing partner. So I was doing this, posting on, at the time they weren't called blogs because there was no such thing as WordPress. Okay. So
What
date
year?
me a little bit.
Can you anchor us on a date?
2003, 2004
Yep.
is when I started.
Yep.
So I am a graphic designer working out of my apartment. I'm making some pretty okay money, but certainly not a millionaire by any stretch of the imagination. Getting by, struggling to pay bills like everybody else. Sometimes I would make six figures, like $100,000 in a year, but it was not anything, like I wasn't making, millions of dollars or anything. But still, I drove a Porsche on lease. I was like, I'm kind of got a cool little place, and all that stuff was awesome. But I wanted to make a big difference in the world, and I thought, well, I'm going to write a book. I don't anticipate becoming famous. So I started putting up they're literally HTML web pages you had to just upload on a daily basis.
Yep.
Maybe you remember this, but there was no WordPress, there's no blog. But I was doing this, and one of my articles on old school bodybuilding training caught the eye of a guy named Tom Venuto. And Tom, I had no idea who Tom was. He just sent me a link. He goes, "Hey, I wrote on the same topic. This trainer we both liked from the 1960s called Vince Gironda." And I go, wow, another guy knows this stuff. This is awesome. And I was looking at his website, and I didn't understand any the marketing side. You barely understood marketing, right? And I was looking at it, go, oh, this guy has some sort of internet thing going on, I guess, And yeah, he's a really good trainer. He's got his 19 consonants behind his name. He's really dedicated. And so we got to be friends. And I said, hey, I'm coming out to New York. Why don't we train together? Went out to New York and worked out. And on the way down, walking down the street, leaving the gym, going to the restaurant, we had a book deal because I told him about my book. I said, I wasn't trying to pitch him because I had no idea he even did this. And I was like, so I don't know how to market it. He goes, well, I can market it. I go, well, yeah, I mean, I figure you're marketing your own book. I don't want to be competitive. He goes, no, I don't look at it that way. Yeah. And he goes, I'll tell you what, I'll split it with you 50-50. I'll do all the marketing and the copywriting. I go, the what? I go, we don't have to copyright anything. It doesn't need to be trademarked. So, I mean, I didn't know what copywriting was at all. And he goes, okay, well, no, that's actually what the words that sell you and sell the book.
Right.
Pretty embarrassing, but it's true. So I said, okay, that sounds great. This is awesome. I'm so excited. And he goes, oh, by the way, you're going to quit your job the third day. I go, there's no way, dude. I make $100,000 a year. I'm not going to quit my job. I built a company, a small company, but nonetheless, one that actually almost made $1 million 1 year. Very dinky company. And but I was proud of that company because I built it from literally nothing. I built it from starting from nothing, and that's what I'm hopefully encouraging you guys to do. I'm watching this, but he said, no, you're going to do this. And so Fit Over 40 launched, and I remember about to launch, and I remember getting the website back for it, the sales page. And it was 6,000 words long. And I read this, and about 500 words into the page, I called Tom. I said, Tom,
no one's going to read this.
No one's going to read this.
No one's going to read all of that.
No one's going to read this. Second of all, who the hell is this guy that you're talking about? It's like, he goes, well, did I lie? I go, no, you didn't lie, but it just, it sounds really hypey. It sounds really salesy. How many times have we heard this term, right? Salesy, hypey. Yeah. And he's going, John, and he studied with John Carlton. So he goes, John, you're just gonna have to trust me on this. I said, okay, I'll trust you. If you, whatever, but this will never work. And I remember on day 2 of the promotion, we shut down the servers and we hit 1,017 on Alexa. Do you remember?
Alexa? Oh yeah. The original before Amazon destroyed it and scuttled it.
Yep. We were the 1,000th most popular website in the universe or in the world on that day. And that was all from Tom's magic with having, at that time, affiliates promoting stuff, which is the wild, wild west. Okay. We had everyone from Bob Proctor promoted this, Joe Vitale promoted this, every fitness person promoted this, guys I never heard of promoted this. Just crazy. And next thing you know, it's the second day, I hand the keys to the office over to my VP and said, I'm done. I'm done. And it's the company's yours. And I'm going to do what this is awesome. I've never seen anything like it. I've never made anything close to that kind of money in a day, let alone,
Yeah.
you know. And so I saw the potential of it, but it wasn't just money. I saw like, wait, I can actually do something here. I can actually I change people's lives here. And
Yeah.
I was idealistic, maybe a little bit too idealistic at the time, but and that's what got me into this. And the next thing you know, I have a second book because I was like, now I'm going to write one for the masses called Every Other Day Diet. And I'm going to write the sales page this time because I've studied one sales page. It was Tom's. And surely
I
this
can
can't
do
be
this
hard.
now.
I can
Yeah,
do
totally.
this. I can totally do this. Right. And
Yeah.
because I mean, I'm a published poet. I literally, I've written a book. I mean, you know, I'm a writer. I've been a writer since I was in high school. How hard can this copywriting stuff be? So I wrote it, and it had a 0.3% conversion rate. And that was to my list. And I bumped that all the way up to 0.8%.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Just if you don't
Do you
know
know
those
what the
numbers,
original book
bad.
converted at? Do you know what Tom's book on the Fit Over 40? Do you have an idea of
Okay,
what the
yes. So
conversion
the
rate was?
gold standard at that time, just so everyone knows, the gold standard was 1%.
Yep.
So if you could get to 1%, we were at 1.8% or 2%. So we were killing it, right?
Yep.
And that was the gold standard. That's all you needed. You didn't have any upsells. I mean, there was no
No
one-click upsells. I
bumps.
actually was
Yep.
one of the guys that helped ClickBank build their one-click upsell funnel. So all that stuff didn't exist, but we were making, selling a lot of books. And when I did the second book, I was like, okay, I got a huge list now because of Tom. Tom sold me the company, did a really super generous sell.
Thanks,
And
Tom.
then
I got it from here, buddy.
thanks, Tom. Yeah, Tom was just Tom's the saint. I love him, but and he wanted to run his own thing, of course. And so I got this huge list. I think it was like 50,000, 60,000 people just from that one launch. And I thought this was completely normal, to have a 30,000, 60,000 person list overnight. But so I decided to launch the book. I couldn't sell it. And that's when the VSL happened. So, and so that's
Bingo.
maybe more knowledge than you guys wanted to know, but I wanted you to hear
perfect.
that I came from absolute nothing and didn't
It's the
know
same
anything
path.
about anything.
Right.
So
It's the same journey we're all on, which is why I wanted to start there. And you mentioned the
yeah.
VSL. So for those
Mhm.
watching, John invented the video sales letter. I've
Mhm.
got a couple of stories of my own and my client stories of it. But real quick, I want to share my screen for just a quick heartbeat here because John is now publishing YouTube videos. Okay.
Mhm.
So we're gonna talk about YouTube in a bit, but if you search John Benson on YouTube or down below this video in the link, you can get access to John's brain, and he's playing the game. So John and I hooked up a year ago. I don't know. He was like, how do I this YouTube thing? I want to jump in the game, Miles. And I was
Yeah.
like, just go start publishing, teach everything you know. And he has. And I think you should go subscribe to John Benson right now. And what's your publishing schedule right now, John? How many videos a week do you do? One?
We're just going back to 2 videos a week,
Perfect.
possibly 3, because my new studio is outside,
Up and
so I
running.
can do a little. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can get all of the bits and pieces. You can get all of the knowledge because where we're at in the story here that let me go back to
Yeah.
the screens here. But like what you get on his YouTube channel is what he learned up to that point, but then making the billions of dollars for his clients through everything that happened from that point is actually what he's giving you from there. The invention of the video sales letter. So changing media, going
Yep.
from this text letter, kind of the old school, bringing it into multimedia. I've used your video sales letter thing. We actually have a letter. I think we wrote it 6 years ago. It still works. We now position after a couple of other things, but it works in this series, and I'm just blown away that it still works. One of my students last year, 2 years ago, maybe, she had a course, wasn't selling. It's a physical activity course, like a coach kind of outdoor sport type training thing to mildly safeguard her niche. And I was like, just go do the VSL. She did the VSL. I think hers was a car battery was her thing. And mine's this is a mug of green tea. Right. And like we know, everybody knows what these are. I think, yeah. And I think she went literally, once that thing went live, it went straight to 10K per month. She literally, like, everything changed. She was struggling to make more than $1,000 or $2,000 a month. And then that thing launched and it went and it scaled. And I mentioned this through my story of using your copy blocks, your copy chops, your copy processes, and my students, because there really is a process to it. Like there really is. And you get to a point, it's almost like Neo in the Matrix. It's like, there's a code there. And at some points we're bold and I can just do this. I'll fire it up and write it, and it doesn't work and we get humbled. But after going through honing the practice, figuring out everything out, you realize that there's these few things that have to happen in a specific order. And when they're done right, it works over and over and over. So from there, from that point, when you discovered the VSL, did you do mostly client stuff? Did you do mostly your stuff? Were you just spinning every plate, burning the candle at both ends, just dominating for decades, or what?
Well, the funny thing about that is the VSL came out. The first one was 2005, 2006, and that was for every other day diet. And that it took me from, like, a guy that was still living in my parents' house, not with my parents. I just inherited the house, but so I was living there with a good friend of mine. Just don't get me wrong, we're still making pretty good money doing affiliate promotions, having a pretty good lifestyle. I mean, honestly, people, people often knock people that are only making a couple $100,000 a year. I'm like, spare me, man. I mean, so many people in this world would be blessed and completely freaked, just completely blown away if they could make that kind of money.
Yeah.
So I hate it when people are like dismissive of that. And I will never be dismissive of that, no matter how much I make. So, but we were making, about like that. And then the VSL hit. And when the VSL hit, my sales went from nothing to over $1 million a month in less than 40 days, I would say. People started buying traffic. These guys in Israel bought traffic for me and just blew this thing up to way beyond. This is before the Google Slap stuff happened, right before. So I thought at that point, well, I would never retire, but at that point I was like, I don't know, 42 or something like that. I thought, that's it. I'm done. I mean, I'm like, this is just, I'm going to, it's like, there's never going to need to work again. Yeah. And that was right about the time of the first Google Slap. And that was because of the acai berry guys, and they took every fitness guy down. So I had about 4 to 5 months of that level of just unbelievable growth. And then it was one of the darkest days of my life. I felt like if I was a trader, this was 2008. Okay. If I was a stock market trader, this is what it was like. And Mike Geary, still a good friend of mine, who's huge into this, huge affiliate promotion, huge marketer, badass fitness guy all around, and was the number one guy in that industry for so long, and probably still is one of the top guys. But he called me up. He said, dude, I'm going to go in and crack Facebook and YouTube traffic. I'm like, that'll never work. Because I'm like, Mike, come on, man. We gotta fight this. No, I'm going to crack Facebook traffic. So he obviously ended up successful because he owns his own mountain now, but he did crack the traffic code. I went in the exact opposite direction. I thought, well, I have no interest in learning traffic. I still don't. I still suck at it. Thank goodness I have people that don't suck at it around me. But I decided to go, hey, there's something about this VSL, because Mike had just called me 6 months prior and said, hey, I'll give you 25 grand to write a VSL for me. And I'm like, I can do this in a day. I mean, it took me a day to write mine. Maybe I could do the same thing in a day. And that ends up being like one of my best VSLs ever. So maybe I should just revert to that process. I'm just saying, I'm only
stay in that one lane.
Yeah, stay in that one lane, just do a day. And so I wrote Truth About Abs and voiced it. It still hasn't, no one's beat the control yet. And it's my voice. You can hear me. Hi, I'm John, and I'm not a naturally lean guy. I just wrote the story about myself. And I was using a lot of the same principles Mike was using, so it was easy for me to do. And then next, I got a call from the CEO of Pimsleur, and wanted me to voice and edit his. And I'm like, wait, I'm not a copywriter, guys. I'm not a VSL guy. But this kept happening and kept happening. Before you know, I did supplement VSL. It hit $10 million, and onward it went. And I was thinking, maybe I should do this, because the fitness thing looks real perilous right now with the Google, coming down on it hard. So the Google coming down hard. So I went in that direction. And for years I was going around saying, guys, I'm not a copywriter. I'm just the guy that started VSLs. I just got lucky with it. I have a pattern. I don't even know what the pattern is. And so I was going around speaking, and finally it was 2010, and I went to speak at Boardroom, and Gary Benzavinga, John Carlton, David Deutsch, Paris Lampropoulos, all the Agora guys. I mean, just imagine being in that room, right? I mean, I didn't know the history of a lot of those guys. And then they were telling me, like, do you know who this guy is? No. Oh my God. Okay. So So I get up there and I go, look, guys, I'm not a copywriter. I'm not in your league. I'm just a guy with I got a formula. Okay. And we'd made the 3X VSL formula. My friend Josh and I dissected all my VSLs, figured out what I was doing. I added some stuff to it and it became what everyone knows. And so I'm teaching this formula to these guys. And then Carlton comes up to me and says, look at the amount of notes I took. Don't you ever fucking say that you're not a copywriter again. Yeah. Because I would kick your ass if I could. I know I can, but I would. Don't make me do this. Okay. So he goes, and you've also got a new best friend. Here's my phone number. So at that point, when the greatest living copywriter, in my opinion, him and Gary, they said, so I thought, okay, I'm a copywriter. But just so you guys know, I mean, I'm telling you the story just to let you know, I wasn't even aware, and this is not me being humble. This is me being honest. I was not aware that I was a copywriter after writing multiple $1 million plus offers. So you hear these gurus. I know Miles has a thing against gurus, and I get lumped into that category because of my reputation. But I like to think of myself as the anti-guru, if anything, because I don't like the term. But you hear these gurus that are just talking about, they've written one thing or they've got one offer and it did really well. The next thing you know, they've got 19 products out about it. Yeah, and so and don't get me wrong. I mean, I think that you can learn something from everyone, and I'm not here to bash anybody. What I'm saying is that be cautious of that, because we managed to do this now since 2004. So, and with VSL since 2006, and with training on VSL since 2009. So that's a long time, and that's how we did the $1 billion, because we've done it a long time. But after that, I became known as a copywriter, and I never studied any copywriting. And the reason why I didn't study it is because I made that mistake with music, and I was a professional musician while I was gigging all through college and through my career, and I did pretty well, but I wanted to be known as one of the greatest, and I overthought it. I like, if I just would have taken one course instead of 19,000, instead of like, I got to practice some more, I got to do some more. So I took the approach of like, I'm going to try to simplify this as much as possible without overthinking it, and just glance at things here and there. I've still never been through anyone's courses. I mean, I've read a couple of copywriting books, but because I don't want to plagiarize anyone, I want to have my own style. So that's kind of the broadest to where we are here, Miles. And next thing you know, I want to do a YouTube thing.
Yeah. Well, isn't there a Bruce Lee quote? Like, I don't fear the man who practices like 10,000 kicks. I fear the man who practices one kick 10,000 times.
Oh yeah.
And there's so many people who get started in this game, and it's so quick to get overwhelmed, especially with, are you using TikTok at all as a user? Have you opened that app much?
I've never.
Have you seen the experience on the For You page?
No.
Okay, so it's intense. It really is it's a revolutionary shift from social media to something new. It's a new algorithmic kind of technology. But what I'm getting at is, it brings so many things at you so quickly that it gets people thinking, fuck, I got to do this, I got to do that. I call it keeping up with the Vaynerchucks, right? All of a sudden you got to be on 73 platforms. And, Gary doesn't often mention that he has like a $50,000+ payroll to have this team of 14 people around him at all times, recording, editing, slicing, dicing, and going, making you think you need to do the same thing. Whereas, to contrast, you can go become like assassin level good at something. There's probably a way better word than assassin, but like you can just
samurai.
There you go. So samurai good at one thing, that one thing can go to heights that literally have 4 extra zeros in it beyond what I'm like you're talking billions game with a B, that's thousands of millions type thing. And it all scales through this one kind of concept, through this one idea.
It did. And I mean, one of the guys that used this formula the most successfully, I mean, when I say billions, one of the reasons why is because of Agora. So Agora became a $1 billion company, and the first time I met Mark, this is Forty's CEO of Agora, he came up to me and said, I owe you at least $100 million in commissions. I said, you can just wire it to me, but so, and then Rich Sheffrin gave me the quote saying, look, I literally turned this into a $1 billion enterprise. So that's just one company that used VSLs. But so that's not the point. Isn't
Ryan Dice and all of his sub brands and on Frank Kern, on and on.
Yeah. And then Ryan actually came out with the first training on VSLs, which was funny because he had no idea I was doing it, and we almost got in a fight. But ended up being really great friends, which is I love Ryan. But he's a good dude. He didn't know. I told him, but his wife was about to give birth to their first child, and he was like, yeah, he was halfway there. But there's a lot of good there's a lot of good training out there, but there's very few things that are, in my opinion, that simplify things to a point where you can wrap your head around it but it doesn't insult your intelligence, because as I say all the time, I can make something as easy as humanly possible, but I can't make anything worth doing easy. No one can.
Yeah.
So it's just not possible. So you can, like, there are things, and so I've tried over my career, because I was teaching music when I was a teenager. So I've been teaching people stuff since I was in my teens, and I love it. And so when I got into YouTube with your help, thank you, Miles, by the way, and with Leanne Price, you're awesome, love you. But I knew I had a gift for teaching, not to be arrogant about it, but that's just, I love to do it, and I'm one of those guys that can teach and do. So I'm not a I don't know where that notion came from. Those who do, do, those who can't teach. I think that's a gross aphorism. So
Right. Those who can't do teach idea.
Yeah,
Well, that was college.
yeah.
That's people who go through a bachelor's program in the United States today.
Maybe
They
so,
see that,
yeah.
you're learning marketing from someone who's never run a
Yeah.
business, but there's, outside of academia, I'm in that same boat, man. Like, the reason I can pontificate about the basics of YouTube and SEO is because I've put in my 10,000 hours on both of them. Like, it's just, it's that simple.
Yeah. I mean, and one of the best teachers I know in this business is my personal coach, Todd Brown. So Todd and I have been friends for a long time. And I knew that, well, I guarantee I know I'm going to get top flight stuff from Todd. He's going to be able to look at copy I write and go, nah, that sucks. And look at copy I write and goes, that's good. Because we all can write sucky things, even with the best formulas, even with the best training, because we all have off days. We all have, we all get too busy. I just had this happen. I wrote an opt-in page and I spent maybe 5 minutes on the copy. I mean, and I just shot it out. Okay, we need this up. Let's test it. This will work. Blah, yeah, it's terrible. And then when Todd looked at it, he said, all right, John, I don't know if you wrote this or not. I embarrassingly did write it. I didn't write the headline, but I wrote everything else. And he goes, you know what? This is the position I would take. And it was like, oh my gosh, well, of course, this is a position I would take too if I would have had my head in my ass. So every one of us can get into this. We can get too much in a hurry. We can get too distracted. And a lot of us, especially if you're a newbie at this, or you're a guy or a girl that's been around a while, but you haven't quite nailed an offer. It's not that you're not trying, it's that you just don't know there are simpler ways to do it, that there are more formulaic ways you can approach it, that formulas that aren't like rote. In other words, like you can take a formula and go, oh, I'm just going to exactly do this. No, I want to teach formulas in the way I teach in what we're going to talk about today. It unlocks your creative potential. So the common theme that I hear from a lot of my students is your formulas worked, but then I started rewriting it.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to hear.
Right.
Your VSL formula.
Then I made it my own.
Right. Because the reason why is because I've studied a great deal of psychology, NLP, hypnosis, and I understand how to talk to someone and speak in a way that unlocks somebody's creativity. So all of my courses have that kind of built into it. And that's something that's just it's a lot of fun to see. I want people to have that kind of superpower, if you will, underneath their belt, be their own person and not try to follow some, copy some guru, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And well, I do. And I think that there's several sides to the transaction. Like if we look back at what bridged you from the service world, from doing the graphics design, 18-hour days, right? That path that was clearly an unsustainable path that was physically damaging in its own right, to shifting to this other one of like, number go up, money comes in easily, did this much work and I made that much freaking money. It's literally a totally different paradigm. Like that came from you mastering. I mean, like that came from you having an offer that converted. Like that's like the simplest way to put it is. And so there's a lot of schools of thought, right? There's like this portion of my audience, they're traffic people, they're search engine optimization folks. They're just build traffic, drive traffic, run ads. And I think it's great to have owned traffic, right? Like obviously we're on my YouTube channel right now. Obviously you're building your YouTube. It makes sense. We have our email list so we can own that traffic and drive it. So there's a time and a place for that. My wife's pop-up on her main blog. So her main blog's had 50 million visits from Google. I think the pop-up's been displayed like 178 million times and it's generated like, it's insane, right? So those numbers help because after the opt-in, they see our one-time offer and then they're on our follow-up sequence and they see all those offers that convert. But the actual core of it all, right? Like the thing that guarantees that I will have money in the future is the fact that I have offers that convert. And I can go partner with someone because there's
Mhm.
joint ventures and affiliates, and I can go find somebody who has a big list, who's never mailed something around my spot, or maybe they have and it crushed it. I can partner with them. I can go on to TikTok, which is that's kind of the emergent paid traffic that we're on.
Mhm.
So on our last offer we have running right now, Google Display Network, Google Text ads, Facebook ads, TikTok ads. I don't think we're running Pinterest ads on this one, but like why how come I can spend money profitably on
Mhm.
all these different my guy can do it, I don't even have to freaking do it. It's because the offer converts, right?
Mhm.
It's because that one thing. And as we head into this period of life where, you went through it in 2008, 2009, right? Your business
Mhm.
went through it and came out the other side.
Yeah, yeah.
And people consciously start to tighten the belt. People consciously start to make different choices. That's all they're really doing,
Yeah.
is they're making different choices, and they're going to decide not to buy goddamn everything, because we've been in
Right.
a
Right.
season of buy goddamn everything. Government sending you money, just buy anything you want, buy it all, right? Dogecoin, shit coins, all of it.
Yeah.
Now people are starting to actually think a little bit, but ain't nobody stopping buying everything, right?
Mhm.
People are still going to buy things that fill these deep psychological needs that they have within them, right? They're going to buy
Right.
these things that make them feel significant. They're going to buy them these things that, I think Harry Brown said, we buy things that we think are going to make us happy, is
Mhm.
ultimately like the chain of things. And for some people it's weight loss supplements, and for some people it's weight gain supplements, and they think by
Mhm.
losing weight or getting bigger, like whatever, it's the
Mhm.
opposite path. But both of those people think that the happiness is where they're going to be. So
Mhm. I'd love to touch base on that if I can for a
yeah,
moment.
please jump in. There we go.
So just as a
Why
frame,
you're
and it's
here, John.
just a one comment. Um, I One of the things that anyone that's ever studied mindfulness or any sort of meditation knows that nothing makes you happy, right? It's a choice it's a state that you can be in. But what I've learned is that there are things that accentuate happiness should you choose to accept happiness to begin with. There are many people who have everything in the world that you think would make them happy, and we know that they're miserable.
Mhm.
But so what I like to think of and how I like to think about this, and I'm not perfect at this because I'm not some Buddhist meditator all the time, but when I do this, I'm aware that happiness is a state. Happiness is something that I can choose to be in, and but the things around me that I've been able to build, and even during times that are tight, and we all have them. Another bullshit thing I don't like to hear when these gurus talk, don't get me wrong. I mean, I'm friends with some of these gurus and I know their
Yeah.
hearts, but I'm not friends with any of the ones that are assholes. But they've all gone through tough times, every single one of them.
Oh yeah. Real
Some
tough
of them have
times.
just another zero than I do behind the tough time. It's the same thing, right? And so when we go through tougher times, the things that pull me out of it is, number one, the ability to sell something. That comes down to having an offer or being able to write words that sell. Words that sell rescue you from anything that you're going through. And it does not matter what it is. It can, and assuming that you're selling something that will give people hope, will
Yeah.
give people encouragement. But back to happiness, to make people happy, how about you reframe this in your mind to, I want to accentuate happiness. I want to make someone's happiness even more broad. I can tell you just briefly, Miles, I moved from a place that most people would love, 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 love to live in Vancouver, with this 270-degree panoramic penthouse view of all the city and all that stuff. And my wife and I moved from Vancouver, British Columbia. The reason I was there, I'm not Canadian, I'm Texan, as you can probably tell by my accent. But I was up there for a while and met my then friend, who became my wife. And we were living in Vancouver. And we're like, we don't like it here for many reasons. For one thing, the weather. It's like,
Yeah.
it's just, if you live in Vancouver, it's 2 months of beautiful weather and the rest of it's just hit and miss, but the rest of it's mostly miss. And we went on vacation to Florida during the winter, and we fell in love with where we live now. And we said, okay, that's it. We're gonna take off and move. And we decided to do that, and we were able to do that in a matter of 2 weeks or 2 months,
Yeah.
rather. That was it. We were able to go there and go to a trip to Brazil, have a honeymoon, come back, move to Florida. So tell me that money, it didn't buy us happiness. It
Right.
accentuated happiness, because I will tell you flat out, I am like fuck ton happier every single day being here, where I literally take an elevator and walk not even 100 yards through my swimming pool to the water, to the
Yeah.
ocean. So that I'm sorry, that for me, now, you may be a mountain person. In fact, I think you are, but somebody watching this may be, into more snow or Alaska. It doesn't matter where it is. I coined the term beachfront copywriting because it's like I want to help people make enough money where they can live on a fucking beach if they want to,
Yeah.
because we do. And
Yep.
so that's that. So it will accentuate your happiness. That skills I can teach you, the skills Miles can teach you, but nothing makes you happy except yourself. So that was my
That's
rant on that.
I get it. Yep. And there's you know, a lot of talk like joy, like the state of being, the state of vibration of joy, which is
Yes.
that blissful energy that comes from within. And
Yeah.
happiness is this
Yeah.
search external for things like, oh, that
Yeah.
Porsche will make me happy. And it's like,
Right.
maybe if I shove a Lamborghini inside of this empty feeling, I'll be happy. And
Yeah.
that's a futile
Yeah.
path that actually leads to crazy
Yeah.
lifestyle style creep. I mean, we've
Yeah.
both seen people and know of people who have blown up because they
Yeah.
externalize that chase. So my wife and I right now we're starting to relook at property in Sedona and the ability to live. So Sedona is a fairly expensive place. So is Florida, and the ability to right now just be like, I could hop on a plane and go like the right one. It has to back up to national forest for me. Like I don't even, I want to walk literally out of my door onto a trail that gets me into 300 miles of a trail network. Like that's my dream right there.
Oh, I
And
hear you.
if there was one
I
on
hear you.
the market right now, I could literally fly down there, make an offer and get it done and not even really have to think about it. Like credit
Yeah.
score, this, that, would I finance it? Would I not? It's all like tangible little fiddly bits. Like, I don't know. I don't care. Like I could either way. And that freedom for me, that's that vibrational state of being of happiness and the confidence of, okay, so let's say I extend myself, I go get a $1.2 million place, put 400 grand down, I got $800,000 more of debt that I'm just going to sit on at 5% or whatever, because I'd rather do that. And like, let's say everything goes crazy and sideways and oh no, I've got the fucking skills, right? I know how to write a book, find a product. I could go to Google. I could type in some obscure pet thing. I could go find somebody on page 5 of Google who has a really good product, who's really an expert, and they have absolute terrible marketing. And I could probably turn them out and make an extra 50, 75 grand per month in about a year's time by just finding the right person to partner with and turn out who's actually like, there's so many ways that this one skill can be applied, not to mention local businesses, potentially starting an actual local crystal shop is something that we like, all these things, and then selling them online. How would I sell them? I wouldn't sell crystals from a Shopify store. Hell no. I would write a long ass sales letter about this one and why this one is the one. And that's the only one they buy it. And then there's 2 upsells for it. And you think you're getting a $40 crystal. And by the way, you can spend $495 with me in that one transaction.
Exactly. Yeah.
From that point, right, with that piece and some logistics, it's just traffic and data. It's like literally 4th, 5th grade math and just monitoring the traffic. Where is this cash flow positive? Yes or no? If yes, scale. How many crystals do we have? Good Lord, we need more crystals. We're selling crystals by the minute here. We need more, you know, and that's that confidence. It never came from Google traffic, right? So I mean, I got one site got hammered by Google traffic over here. The Google slaps have been coming hot and heavy since the Penguin and Panda updates on SEO. Facebook algorithm changes are left and right. YouTube, you know, on the YouTube path, you know that like YouTube has their finger over a button that is your long-term reach. And if they change the algo, if they change this, if they change that, if they decide you said something, if we mention the wrong words on this, they have that control. But when one builds the skills, and the skills that are closest to the transaction, right, those sales skills essentially, you're free. Like you've got the skill for whatever goes from there.
That's a good word.
I find it really interesting. So you mentioned Michael Masterson, Mark Ford. So for people listening, I've recommended his book, The Great Leads book. So that's the leads, right? You mentioned Todd Brown. And like in my mind, he's like the big idea kind of like hook guy, like in that realm. And I'm starting to notice that you've surrounded yourself for years and decades with some of these people who are extremely smart on these specific little pieces of the game. And I wonder, like, do you want to go into the core components of what it is and the structure of the kind of like the training side of things? Or do you have something you want to explore at this point?
Oh yeah, I first of all, I'm just really enjoying the conversation. So thanks everybody for watching.
Totally.
But yeah, I was hoping we'd have kind of a Joe Rogan experience kind of thing without Joe Rogan. But although I'd love to have Joe Rogan pop in if you want to pop in, Joe, you know, you're welcome to. But what I wanted to present is something that I remember. If we go back down to everything that Miles is talking about, and uh, I think there are two reasons. Well, let me back up. There are two reasons that people, I think, buy from you, Miles. Number one is the most important, is that you're a real dude. You're a human being that's trustworthy. I know you, and I know all this about you. So it's people sense that people sense you're no bullshit, and that hey, I'm going to actually try to help you, and I don't mind making a profit doing this, but because I'm going to kick my ass and do this. So Miles has been able to grow this amazing YouTube channel after that. That's how we met, because he promoted one of my products and was one of my top affiliates because he liked the product.
Yep.
And so we got to kind of be talking, got to be friends. And my YouTube channel is kind of dinky in comparison, but it's growing at a very quick clip because of similar vibes. Like most people, if you read the comments, there's a lot of very positive things being said there. But a lot of it stems from the fact that I can break this down into a more simplistic approach. And when I say that, I mean, I want a more simplistic approach. So this is not like some insult like, oh, people are just not smart enough to catch on to lofty copywriting. Believe me, I've taught many lofty copywriting concepts in my career. It has nothing to do with intelligence. You can take the most lofty subjects in the world and break them down to where everyone can understand them. And that's your responsibility as a teacher. So I'm tried to do this. And when I started doing it with copywriting, I knew I wanted to create, because I was asked to create, Miles, like probably the last 10 years of my life, I've been asked to create some sort of copywriting certification course, like a master course in copywriting. I said, well, Now VSL, which is the VSL course, and that's the 3X is built into Now VSL. That course alone that's the $1 billion course, but that's only with VSLs. That's specific to the psychology of VSLs. Copywriting, as you know, is much larger. And if you want to learn copywriting, you definitely have to go beyond VSLs. But when I started looking at like, well, what are the skills that I needed to learn to become a copywriter? How do I get ideas out of my head and onto paper? And when I really broke it down, there were just 3 things that you need to know. Now, I'm not saying 3 things you need to know to become John Carlton or to become, Chris Haddad or any, to become me or whoever you like, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that 90% of copywriting, in my opinion, and I'll prove this to you if you give me some time, boils down to the skill of 3 things, to just knowing how to do 3 things. So I started thinking to myself, is there a way to formulate and break that down into formulas that anyone can start applying so that their brains open up that creativity loop? A creative center in the brain is just a little mechanism that can open up. And all of a sudden you start seeing, very much like the Matrix, you saw the woman in the red dress. You see the woman in the red dress. You see beneath the coat. Oh, that's what it is. And when I was breaking it down, I said, yeah, there are 3 things. And one of them appeared to be impossible to break down. And so that's the one I picked first. And so those 3 things, I'm going to go over if you want to, and I'll show you that they make up 90% of copywriting. The other 10%, don't get me wrong, it's super important in LP and in understanding persuasion, all that stuff. But this stuff is the foundation. And if you get this down, you'll be way ahead of the curve.
And this stuff will help. I mean, so it helps email marketers with their email marketing, right? It'll help your open rate. It'll help your click-through rate. It'll help all the engagement numbers. It'll help even search engine optimization people who are writing blog posts. Like when your blog post displays on Google with a list of ads and other ones, that's your copy, right? Your headline and your description is your chance to sell the person who just searched that thing on clicking you. And most SEOs aren't getting the click because they're not thinking. And these core fundamentals, like they actually are the thread that gives that like mojo to everything we do. And this is where it took me. So it took me years. I was full SEO, full paid or full organic traffic. That's all I cared about. And we were at a WordPress WordCamp. And I met this dude. He's a British guy. He was running like $50,000 a day in ad spend as a ad manager for people, quant. He played big data sets. And he's like, Miles, you're on the wrong side of optimization. And here I am thinking I'm a badass because I'm bringing in 8-10 million visits per year to my website. And he was like, Miles, you don't get it. When you get that content that converts, it's about the conversion optimization. It's when you get people to take action, everything else becomes easy once you understand how to get people to take action. And that seed of thought sent me on, man, I'm not getting, my opt-ins aren't growing up. So my pop-ups weren't converting. Now my pop-ups convert 3X. That's 300% more leads for the exact same amount of traffic. And that's the shift in my business that took us from 3 to 5 grand months, maybe an
Yeah.
8 grand month was a really good month, to hitting the 30 to 50, the 70, and not the 100,000 plus months. It's not because of a traffic thing. In fact, I think we're getting less traffic now than I was 2 years ago, but the number of conversions, we're getting tens of thousands of customers every quarter at this point in time. And then we're selling them the bumps in the out. And it's because we're using all of these little bits that you're going to learn. All right, midstream operator error by Miles. I tried to make John the host so he could share his screen, and that canceled our recording, but we're right back, so don't worry. I was on a soapbox there, but I think I concluded my little soapbox rant. John, how do you feel about my little soapbox moment?
I'm a big fan of it. So
you concur?
I concur entirely. And I will say that okay, you were talking about your ads and your pages and your pop-up, for example, opt-in. So in the longer training, this is not like a webinar. I'm just going to go through some slides and show you some stuff. But in my longer training, I actually proved this at the very end by saying, I'm going to take exactly what I learned and create an ad to an opt-in page, to a thank you page, to a sales page. And I show you how much of it's used. And it was 94% of the stuff that I just learned in these formulas. So what I'm saying is, you can take the stuff I'm about to show you, and if you master the skills, this is super important to understand the distinction. It's not just master the formulas. Almost anyone can do that. To understand the skills that it takes, which is what I'll teach you, to be able to do this, you'll be able to write those ads that convert, those opt-in pages that get 3x. That's where all of the skill comes from. And the rest is that 10% that you can hone in another time if you want to be a copy master. So these are the copy essentials, and I'd like to show them to you. So I'm going to share my screen.
And it's that mindset, right? It's you build the way of looking at the world, the world model, and then everything follows from there.
Exactly. So can you see my screen? Cool.
Yep.
Awesome. So we've been saying this, and I get my notes on the screen because I need to have my own notes to show you this stuff. That there are just 3 components, just 3, and all the copy skills that you need to grow your business and increase your sales and conversions really do boil down to learning 3 specific skills, 3 things. And what I tried to do is to take those 3 things, and as I said earlier, formulate them, make them into formulas, patterns that I could teach to anyone that had an open mind and, past a 5th grade education. So it does not require somebody being a talented writer or even that creative. So I call these the 3 essentials of sales copy, the building blocks of 90% of all copy, and I can teach it to anyone in less than a day. Now, that's a bold claim. I made this claim from the stage in Brazil. I was speaking in front of like 600 people and said, I can teach everyone in this room 90% of what it takes to be a copywriter in one day. And you could hear a pin drop, and I was being translated from English into Portuguese. So you could hear a pin drop, and I'm like, that's a hell of a headline, isn't it? That's a really good headline. That's
most people think it's super complicated, right? Because everybody's been making, and like, why would so many people sell all of these gigantic over-the-top courses and masterminds around copy if it wasn't so damn difficult? And it's like, no. That's a part of their method. That's a part of their game, is to make it sound difficult so they can present an easy solution, versus, again, seeing through the matrix code and like, oh shit, it's actually these 3 things.
It's these 3 things. And the 10% that you put on top of that part can be challenging. Wow. That part is the stuff that you'd have to flex your muscles on. But guess what? Even with this, I can teach it to you 24 hours or less. So literally 24 hours or less. Some people go through this in like 4 hours, but that does not mean that you can do all the work in 4 hours. Okay. Yeah. There's going to be some work in here that I want you to do, some research, some looking around, some practice, some scribbling around. If you're not willing to put in that level of effort, then you might as well just turn off this video right now, because it's really not for you. But if you are, I can give you a skill that very few people possess that makes you all but recession proof. That's what I look at. Copywriting is words that get cash and recession-proof income. That's what it really is, because there'll always be a need for it. Okay. Yep. So like I said, under 24 hours, here are these 3 elements. You have to know how to create a hook. Now, that right there was the part that at first I was like, Miles, there's no way you can formulate a hook. There's no way that you can formalize creating a hook. Hooks are creative, hooks are magical. No, there's actually a formula. There's actually a really cool formula. And I even expanded into the big idea. So I actually got paid. Agora hired me to create this training originally for Agora Publishing before they went into some issues that they were going into. So I wasn't able to teach it to their 200 plus copywriters, but I told them I have a way to literally teach anyone how to build a hook and a big idea. So if I can teach you the creative processes that I go through by using a formula, would that be helpful for you? The answer is yes, because people will pay you just for that. Being able to write a headline, super important, and being able to write sales bullets. And that third thing, you would not believe, I'll show you how many places sales bullet writing doesn't look like sales bullets. It comes
Nope.
in everywhere,
Yep.
ads, opt-in pages, you name it. But this is the golden thread right here. You get these three things and you are set. So let's talk about element one. What is a hook? Well, it's a phrase of beneficial or frightening or even a neutral tone that speaks to your prospect's mindset. It stands out as unique, intriguing, essential. And the whole idea behind a hook is one thing. It is designed to capture someone's attention, to make a unique mechanism, to create something that is unique, something that stands out in any other offer. What is the thing inside the thing that makes it leap out to people and go, oh, wait, I've seen 19 weight loss offers today, but that one thing sounded different. Why does it sound different? It's what goes into a hook. So I got some famous hook examples to show you. Beechwood Age by Budweiser from back in the 70s. That one hook made them $4 billion in revenue. That became super famous. And truth of the matter is most beers are Beechwood Age. They just coined the term. Muscle Confusion, P90X, became the first billion-dollar fitness company. Muscle confusion was a term originally used in the 1980s. They just resurrected it, claimed it as their own. Boom, look what happened.
Owned it. Yep.
Lossless tracking from Conversion Fly. Okay, for those of you that know the conversion world. Invisalign is a Smart Track and Smart Force. StabiliTrack from GMC. You've heard this, and StabiliTrack is all over commercials for GMC trucks. Living Hinge technology, Smart Target technology, Carb Steady from the glucagon shake, Paint Block technology. All leptin resistance was the one I created. And if you Google leptin resistance, you'll see that there are medical papers on it. It's made its way into the medical lexicon. So these are some pretty powerful hooks that have sold hundreds of millions, billions of dollars, literally billions. So hooks really are important. There's a step beyond hooks, and I call it mind reading hooks. I can't go into the whole training now, obviously, to do this, but okay. This becomes the most powerful thing that you can do as a marketer, as a business owner, as someone trying to sell their own product, or if you're a copywriter, you're trying to sell other people's products, is if you can create 2 to 3 words that feel as if you're reading someone's mind. It makes them feel that way. And you can do that by doing the right amount of avatar research, okay? So they don't only grab attention, they're going to become the foundation for all of your marketing. And yes, it's just 2 to 3 words. So even ordinary hooks like you're about to see shortly, they've created billion-dollar campaigns. These aren't what I call mind-reading hooks, but the hook should run through all of your copy. This is what the hook does. And this is why it's one of the foundational principles. There's only 3. It's because a hook is not just something that stands out in a sales letter or a headline. No. The hook is repeated over and over in email, in ads, in opt-in pages, in voicemail messages. Okay, you need a hook. And if you can get a hook, then let me define mind reading hooks, because that's really all about research. If you get a hook that your avatar, your ideal buyer, when they hear it, they go, that's answers the problem.
Yep.
That speaks to me. I don't know why it speaks to me, maybe.
Yep. That's why. Oh, that's it. That's the thing. And like, it's muscle confusion, right? Like I've tried all this stuff, nothing ever worked. Muscle. That's why my body gets bored. And it's kind of like, it makes enough sense in the mental world. It just like it clicks. I think it clicks. And it's like, oh shit, I now need to pay attention to what they're talking about, because this makes sense to me. You now have their full captive attention on your sales person, your automated sales process.
Exactly. And if you want to know a little samurai secret behind the muscle confusion hook, why it works, and this is what I'll teach you how there is you'll see a very short version of it here in a second, but I walk someone through a map and how they start thinking and pairing things that don't belong together, and how it ends up creating almost hooks by itself. It's really cool. But once your mind starts working in that creative zone, and I'm going to show you how to do this here in a second, but once you do, you'll start seeing why hooks work. Because here's the thing: if you ask most people about weight loss in specific, about exercise, I am what? Confused. There's 19,000 books out there, 19,000 different ways of doing it. Is it low carb? Is it high carb? Is it vegan? Is it carnivore? I mean, it's complete and utter confusion. So when they came along and said the answer to that problem is muscle confusion immediately resonated with something and validated their feeling.
They're like, oh, I'm
This is
already halfway there. I'm confused as fuck.
exactly. It's so under the radar.
Wow.
So few people are going to catch this, but the word confusion leapt out in someone's mind. Go, what? I'm confused. Wait, what is this muscle confusion thing? Oh, that's the answer. Oh, the answer is to be confused. I'm in because I'm already confused.
Counterintuitive.
Well, that's
Yep.
not what the answer was, but that's what the subconscious mind is thinking about it.
The
And
hook.
that, my friend, is called a mind reading hook. It's a brilliant example of it. Now, that's what we're talking about right here with Miles. That's why response. That's what a hook can do. So when someone reads your thing and it's something sticks out, 2-3 words stick out, and they go, oh, what was that again? Oh, maybe that's why I haven't been able to train my dog. Maybe that's why I've constantly failed at internet marketing, or I've constantly failed at weight loss, whatever it may be. I have never heard this term before. Maybe this guy or this girl's got the answer. If you elicit that response, you've captured attention. And guess what? 80% of copywriting is the ability to capture and secure attention. Just write that down. 80%. If I can capture and secure, not just get it, but secure your attention through little words and phrases throughout all my copy, I have a massive chance of you clicking that button.
Yep.
Does that make sense?
100%, 100%. Like you're setting up a sales experience, right? Like
Exactly.
that's, if you think about buying a car, you know, you would go to a table and they would sit you down and you're just in there. We all have cell phones now, but like, how do you get those people to be so interested in what you're talking about for the next 8, 12, 14 minutes or 3,000 words, 10,000, whatever it is,
Yes.
that they're not going to go jump off into distraction land, right?
Yeah.
Because that is the enemy, is like the fact that TikTok and everything's a tap away. But when they're like, I got this problem, I got to solve this thing, man, this new thing, man, this is why, that's why hasn't worked before. I have to know more, is kind of like, boom, now they're going down and they're in that zone. This is the opportunity. That's when you can sell people. That's when people are ready to buy. It's getting into that buying state.
It is. And when you get into mastery level copy, the other 10%, we talk about problem agitation and all this kind of stuff, but you don't need to know that right now. All you need to know for the moment is that that's why response is going to save your ass when it comes down to conversions. And like I said, that's when the prospect thinks, that's why I'm not being able to do that. That also lets them off the hook psychologically, because you can say, hey, it's not your fault. You just never heard of muscle confusion before. It's not your fault. So it's a great thing to say. And that's true. Now, I want you to know something I'm going to say by the way, this can make you a multimillionaire. This one part, that's a bold claim. I get it, but I will absolutely stand by that claim. If you get this hook part down, if you get this comment from the audience saying, oh, maybe that's why I want to keep watching, you're set. Your offer is going to convert. So this is how powerful this is. Now you see why this is such a huge part of copywriting, but it's only one thing. It's only one thing, but it runs through your entire thing. Okay. So the process for this is pretty straightforward. First, you need to figure out who your ideal buyer profile is. Now, listen, I got some notes I'm going to read over here because it's important that I get this right. Okay. You will see a way of doing this that I do. It's called the Avatar's Diary. Now, we can't go into it today because we're limited on time, but the Avatar's Diary, and I called it this way because it's such a thorough deep dive into who your ideal buyer really is. You actually create a diary. You actually write a little bitty mini diary. I've written a lot of the diary for you, just kind of fill in the blanks. But my point is, it's the next best thing to reading their real diary ethically. As if somebody, your ideal buyer, said, look, I wrote a diary about my journey in affiliate marketing or my journey in weight loss, and I'd love for you to read it. Imagine if your ideal buyer did that. Just read this.
Yeah.
Imagine if you could speak back to them in the same words that they're using. So instead of, I'll give you an example. I speak a lot in the weight loss and fitness industry. And if I said, hey, I'm going to teach you today how to get ripped 6-pack abs, and I'm talking to 68-year-old women, and they're saying, I just want to slim my belly down, I need to know that's how they're saying, that's how they're vocalizing their pain. So figure out who your ideal buyer is. There's places you can go to do that. And guess what? I'll tell you right now, you'll never do it through a survey. You'll never do it through a quiz. They will never give you the right answers. The same reason that people will not tell you the truth on a survey when somebody calls them on the phone, who you're going to vote for, because they're afraid. But you know what? There are many places they do tell you, and this is where you need to go. And when you find out where they are, you're going to stalk them legally. You're going to stalk them. Then you're going to use their words to talk about their big problem and to start inspiring your mind to think about the hooks. So if I hear muffin top a lot, if I hear muffin top a lot, I might want to use the word muffin in my hook. I might want to use, if you see where I'm going with this. So I'll
100%.
create hooks around what people are talking about, or I'll create a hook that sounds really mysterious, like leptin resistance. Unless you are a fitness person
Super
or a nutritionist,
curiosity.
you're not going to know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
So what is this weird thing called leptin resistance? Well, it creates curiosity. So there are
Open
hooks
loop.
that create immediate rapport. There are hooks that create immediate curiosity, and you're going to learn how to run both. So number one, you're going to put this, and finally, rather, you're going to put their words into this diary and what I call the hook map. So once you get it all in there, you stick it in the hook map, and then hooks. I just love the part of this where I do this, and you'll see this in a second. Hooks start appearing. Hooks. In fact, leptin resistance appeared from a hook map. Now, who is your ideal buyer? So how do you do this if you don't have access to these tools right now? Write down the qualities someone would have to buy your offer the moment they hear about it. Okay, write down this. What would someone have to be like to buy whatever I'm selling the moment they hear? Please don't write down gullible or rich, because that's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying someone that goes, man, whatever it is that guy is selling, I'm buying, and I'll probably buy for the rest of my life. I resonate with him or her. That's the message I need to hear. What are those qualities? That's who you're going to attract. Now, I'll give you a hint. These are problem and solution aware buyers. Now, what that means is they are aware that they have a problem, and they are aware that a solution exists. They're just maybe not familiar with you or your solution.
Which one is what they're looking for. They're trying to decide which one am I going to choose. And this is your chance to be the only standout, like the only option.
Exactly. So now, bearing this in mind, imagine attracting a group of ideal buyers. They know they have a problem, so you don't have to sell them on the problem, but you're going to make the problem really big, and you're never going to tell a lie, ever. In fact, to be a great copywriter, you just have to be brave enough to tell the fucking truth.
Yeah.
And if you are brave enough to tell the entire truth, and I will give you examples of this, it will make you cringe. If you're brave enough to tell the entire truth, you never have to lie. So it's one of the great things about ethical persuasion. You just have to be brave enough to go all the way. So, but these are problem and solutions. So they know they have a problem. So you don't have to talk about the problem. You're just going to make the problem much bigger, because it always is. It always is. Very few people know,
what they're doing in their ego all day, every way, anyways.
Exactly. And once the problem is really, really big, you land your hook solution. Well, listen, there is one solution to this problem that I found that is just superior to everything else I've ever tried. It's called blank. Now, I use phrases like experts today call it blank. Well, if I have one other person other than me that I can officially say an experts, plural, I like to call it blank if you don't say that. So it's not, I like to call it counting calories. Do you see how this doesn't work? It has to be something, I like to call it macro confusion. I like to call it, caloric staggering was my hook inside Every Other Day Diet. So what does that mean? Well, you kind of know, but you don't. Well, that's exactly it. So now they're solution aware, and now you've embedded inside of that solution. There's one thing that's working better than anything else. It's something I've never heard of. I've got to listen to it. Yeah. So these are also proactive people who will spend money on themselves and their goals. That's clearly, and these will become your raving fans. Okay. You'll have the buyers that buy the top 10% of your list of raving fans, but these are responsible for 300% of more revenue than other people, because they tell other people about you. Yeah. You can't buy word of mouth advertising, but you can get it if you act strategically. So I'm going to help you build
lifetime value, and they less customer support emails, like literally everything about this ambitious segment of your audience is like a pleasure to work with. And people whose businesses are driving them crazy, it's probably because they're not touching into this portion or this segment. They're trying to sell the wrong people, and they're trying to sell people who aren't. And no, go find the people who are ready to buy and help them get it through using the right words that pull them in to get through that series of things we're going through here to make the fucking case, right? And that's, people are missing that kind of like simplicity, even though it's still difficult. It's technically simple.
Without a process, this is the most difficult thing you'll ever do. As far as copy goes, I have walked people through this. I won the presenter of the event award at Todd Brown's last mastermind, showing just a little bit of this exact presentation that you're about to see, because we had 40 of the top marketers in the world, and they were like, holy crap, the 3 hooks just came out of nowhere.
Nailed it.
You trust me when I tell you this. If you can do this, and then you write the words around it, that's coming in the next 2 steps, you are so close, 3 feet from goal. And I will tell you this again, Factually, I'm speaking total factually. I don't know anyone. Maybe there is someone that this is true for, but I don't know any of the marketers that I'm familiar with who have done this deep dive that I'm talking about into finding their ideal buyer, let alone creating a diary around it. That's the infinite deep dive. That isn't a multimillionaire. No one. Yeah. Not one. Because they know their buyers. They're communicating to them with their language. So I'm going to give you one more example of this because it's so important. I know I'm kind of going off the slides, but I want this to be much more casual. This is not like a high-pitched webinar or something like that.
No, I was just keeping us on focused.
All right. So check this out. If your wife, and you say you're married, I'll take my wife. If my wife, Miles, we can take yours, we can take mine. But if my wife comes in every day and she starts telling me, babe, I am so I'm wasted. I feel wasted, not drunk, just wasted. I feel like I'm so tired. I'm wasting away. I'm like going, oh, babe, that's horrible. So you feel exhausted. Well, yeah, I feel exhausted. I don't know why that didn't feel like it resonated with me. But yeah, I feel kind of exhausted. And so so you need rest? Well, yeah. I mean, but so why is she not? Oh, yeah. I mean, all I have to do is an imago therapy technique. That's where this comes from. And so I said, oh, sweetie. So I hear you saying that you feel wasted. Wasted, right? Uh-huh. Yeah, exactly. Wasted sounds really, really rough. At that point, she's in my arms, she's crying, she's, at that point, because all I did was say, I hear you saying this, not as some sort of trick, not as some sort of manipulation tactic. That's not what we're doing here. We are validating, we are empathizing. And this is the highest level of validation and empathy, is to simply speak back the words that someone's saying, because they may be saying, and in my silly example before, I want to slim down my belly, and I'm going ripped abs. Never going to work.
Totally different thing. Yep.
Never going to work.
You got to meet them where they're at.
So meet them where they're at using their exact words. That will make you, if there's ever a shot of you becoming a multimillionaire, I'm saying, so if you ever have the skills, the work, the gumption, everything you got to put into doing that, this is going to take you there faster. That's my honest opinion. So that's 100%. That's how powerful it is. So how do you stalk them legally? So ask yourself, where do they go to speak freely online? Now, I've got all these places mapped out. Okay, I'm not going to give you all of them. I'll give you one of them. Bartender versus friend. Okay. You will tell your friend, and sometimes you'll tell your best friend a lot of stuff. But a lot of people, as you know, Miles, will tell a bartender shit they will never tell their spouse. They will never tell anyone. They can tell the most personal stuff to a total stranger. Well, these are like digital bartenders is what I want to do. These are pretty hidden resources. These aren't obvious, okay, that I do my avatar research. So here's just an example of where these digital bartenders, if I call them, can be found, and the juice that I got out of them. It's just freaking amazing. 90% of the copy on this page that you see that's copy was written by my ideal buyer. Now, I wrote the framework around it. This is page 1 of my avatar's diary. There's like 9 pages. So I don't mind showing you this at all. So I wrote all the stuff around it, so you wouldn't have to write any of that. But the stuff that's highlighted, the stuff that's underlined, the stuff that you can clearly see is the juice. I didn't write but 10% of it. Okay. Now, my ideal buyer's name is Brenda. I named her Brenda. I found a picture that represents what I think Brenda would look like. Now, do men buy my product? Sure, but 70% are women. So I'm going to speak to Brenda. I know Brenda is at the age of 53, a mother of 3 wonderful children. So that's pretty easy for me to fill that out. I know that's all demographic. If you don't know where that is, you know where you find it. Really simple place. You can go to any magazine that you think your avatar would read. And that's obviously that would gear toward the exact thing. And the magazine has the demographics, but that's not the avatar. Here's the avatar. The house is more lonely than usual. I put on weight during my child rearing years. Now, I've never used that phrase in my life until I read it by the way, this isn't all one person. These are dozens of people I did the research on, all within the same basic age category. It's like a mashup in very different places, selling. You wouldn't believe where some of this stuff comes from. You think, oh, I'll go to an online forum. That's just a one place that you can go. Some of the places are so cool. So I feel ugly, drained of energy, worn down, uncomfortable. These are her words. I refuse to be a super mom to get myself out of that. So there's a fear that she has of becoming super mom. Like, I got 3 kids. I'm in my 50s. I got one that's going to be a grandmother. And it's like, I don't want to be super mom, trying to go to the gym, trying to do this stuff. So she's afraid of that. It's like where a lot of marketing goes, hey, this is like turns you into super mom. That's not what she wants to be. Okay. And look at her friends. Her husband's name is Dan. He's pulling away from the past few years. It's been gut wrenching. We barely make love. He's eyeing his daughter's friends. Yeah, women were saying this online, right? I can't blame him. They're young, beautiful, and toned as I used to be. I love you, but I'm not attracted to you anymore. And listen to what she said. I'm sick and tired of walking around with a child's weight hanging off my body. So this is A-level copy written by a whole group of women that all I did was cut and paste. I could end up divorced and dying alone. I'm not sexy anymore. This is page 1. Yep. Page 1 of 9 different segments of the Avatar's Diary. All of this came from this research. So this gets then put into a hook map, and then hooks will begin to magically appear. If you don't believe me, I'm going to actually show you my hook map. Now, obviously, there's a big process behind this hook map. So there's like, well, how do you get this and where do you go this? But I'm just going to show you the first, just look at the upside, look at the first part upside. We'll look at a couple of these little things, okay? So we're going to look at pains and pleasures, okay? Now, there's a whole setup to this that I go into my course, but I want to give you the end result here. So I just found 3 words, and you saw all 3 of those words in the Avatar's Diary on page 1. Okay. And so I started asking myself some questions. And because I'm a huge believer, and I'm going to give you 80% of what I teach. And if you want the other 20, great, become my customer. Okay. But I'm going to give you more than you realize. I'm not going to do I love Russell. Don't get me wrong. I love Russell Brunson, and he's a good guy, but
he's a good marketer.
The damn good marketer. He's right on webinars you shouldn't be teaching. I'm going to break that rule because we're on YouTube. Fuck it. I'm going to teach you some stuff. Is that cool? I'm just going to give it to you. Now, it ain't going to give you everything, but it's going to get you started. Okay. So check this out. I'm asking a question, Miles. Run down. We know Brenda feels run down. What else is run down? That's the question I asked. And when I started asking myself, what else is run down? What else is ugly? What else is uncomfortable? All of a sudden, that creative part in your brain starts opening up. And next thing you know, some weird shit starts to happen. What else is run down? First thing I thought was clocks. Now, clocks have nothing to do with weight loss. I want you to see right here, we are already way off the topic of weight loss with clocks, aren't we? I'm just asking you to answer this question. What else is run down? Well, clocks run down, watches run down, light bulbs run down, they run out, energy levels run down. So I got clocks, light bulbs, and energy levels. Except for energy levels, we have nothing to do with weight loss. Now, here's where it gets really, and here's the last step. I say, what is associated with those words? Just name me things that are associated. What words are associated with clocks? Well, you wind a clock, you set a clock, you watch a clock. What about light bulbs? Well, you switch them on, you screw them in, you change them. All I'm asking for is associations. That's it. Energy levels. Well, I feel dead. It's scary to feel like my energy drained. I feel tired. So I'm just throwing out words. Now, I actually threw out like 20 different words, and I just picked the top free association. Okay. So free association. That's what we're doing here. So what else? And free association. Now, I'm not going to go through all of these, but that's basically what I did. And then the pleasure is a whole different formula. Sorry, I can't go into that right now, but I will show you what happened when I did my map. Ready? I underlined words just at random. So I underlined skinny and switch. I pulled skinny out of the association at the bottom and switch out of the association at the top from the light bulbs. I just picked words, and I came up with my hook, the skinny switch, which sold about $25 million of a diet book. That was the hook, the skinny switch. There's a switch in your body that you flip it on. And I knew I could reverse engineer where this is coming from, because these are the words that they're using. I'm just going, what else is associated with them? So the skinny switch is going to also be very appealing to this person. Now, I know that psychologically I have a much better chance. Skinny switch just popped out. So I literally pulled those words out, energy switch, and I pulled skinny out of there. Skinny switch, boom. What else popped out? Look at this. Over what else is ugly? And I wrote down war. because at the time, and as you know, we were just entering a war. So what does that remind me of? What is associated with words with war? And look at that, Miles. Combat, Armageddon, the resistance. You know, my dad was a part of a major war, and he is a part of the thing called the resistance. So I wrote that down just out of memory. But this is where leptin resistance came from. So I got leptin resistance because I thought of what else is triggered with war, associated with war, and what else is associated with hormones. That's it. Leptin was the hormone I just picked. Resistance. That became the BioTrust hook that did the 50 million. Look at this one. I came out with several things here: Vita Youth and Vital Energy. And I think Vita Youth, what became is the name of a supplement. Vital Energy, which is the name of a book. So I didn't use these just as hooks. I thought Vital Energy, that sounds like a great name for a book. I found it just by circling things inside my hook map. Okay.
Yep.
Or other things. Fat Combat. That was the name of a PDF that we created for one of my books. I'll do one more. Check this out. Hormonal Set Point. That became the big idea for one of my weight loss letters, or actually one of my clients' weight loss letters. So I didn't have any concept of a hormonal set point, but I had the word set and the word hormones. And when I did is I went into relatedwords.io and typed in set. So I said set hormones, set hormones. That doesn't work. What's another word that's around there? And you know what one of the first words was set point. That's it. Hormonal set point. That's how I came up with it. Hormonal set point. And then I could say there's a set point in your body. It's called the hormonal set point. And once you reach a certain age, that set point starts to lower and everything starts going to hell. So if you fix this one thing, if you raise your hormonal set point back up, do you see where I'm going?
100%.
100%. And all this was created from this hook map by doing the research. Pretty freaking cool, isn't it? So
it is. And it's like, what I love about that is so many people are just looking at other big ideas that other people are using and they're switching up a word. I'm going to put myself in that damn category, right? There's this lack of creativity. So one of my last hooks that I've been fiddling with is automated income, because I hate the phrase passive income because this shit takes work. Yeah. So like, oh, passive. What's my other, like, how do I get, because I have a lot of passive income, but I talk, and it's like automated. It's not working that great, to be perfectly honest with you. The automated, because it's not that clever. It's missing the other half. I need that next level because I didn't go through the process. And guess what I'm doing once we're done here today?
Yes, because I gave you, yes, I want you to
do this. Yeah, I got work to do.
Everyone to do this, okay? To go through the process. Now, that hook map and the Avatar's Diary research, now I'm able to teach it to you in literally 2 hours. 2.5 hours is the training time for that. It's going to take you, I'd say 2 to 4 days to do it, like just in your spare time, to put some time into it, do it right. And then you'll take that freaking Avatar's Diary and it will become your Bible. It will become your Bible. It will become the language you speak through everything.
Well, you create a bit that you get to own. I think it was Evan Pagan who always talked about, like, make your own damn bucket. Like, don't try to get into what everybody else is doing. Like, literally go create a new thing, a new subgenre. Like, go create your thing. And then guess who's number one at that thing? It's you, because you fucking create it. You're the only person in that thing. And everyone else who starts to pick that up is actually kind of supporting you and your bit. And it's that level of like, like, to me, that's where, that's my personal big sticking point. I think literally that's my 7-figure to 8-figure gap is in that one idea, is the fact that I kind of like, I'm all over the place. I can teach, I'm a jack of all trades, and I haven't fully codified the Miles Beckler bit in any way. It seems like it's right there. I just got to put in the time to do the work.
Well, I just want to make this abundantly clear. Now, this all came from this. Well, actually, it came from 9 pages. There's 9 more sections of this. So I was able, but just using the words on the first page, the words I didn't write. Please write this down. It's one of the few things you may have to write.
You're not making this up.
I didn't write the words.
Yeah, that's the key.
That you're seeing. Somebody else did. So in other words, how can I make copywriting not only better because you're using their words, you're using the psychology of imago therapy, which again, we're getting into deep psychological stuff right now, but I'm just telling you why it works. You're using the words of transference. You're using you're using the power of validation. You're using the psychological power of empathy. All these things you don't need to know, but that's why it works. And it comes up with this. That's what came out of that. All the stuff that you just saw there. So I'm going to tab through this and get to our next part. But the point is the only words I wrote were the associations, and anyone can do that. Anyone could sit there and go, what do clocks do? Well, they whine, they say, I mean, that's what kids play. This is child's play. Okay.
It is.
So that's how this is as easy as it will ever get. Now, there's obviously more to the hook map than that. There's actually a big idea section, which expands on this further, but let's get on to headline number 2, or the element number 2, which is the headline. So now that we got the hook, let's talk about the headline. Now, this is a phrase designed to first capture attention. Okay, very important. But then later on, throughout the body of the copy, that's right, you're going to use headlines throughout the entire sales letter, throughout your entire selling process. You're going to use this knowledge, the knowledge it takes to write a headline, for all kinds of things, because you're going to continually secure the attention rather than just grabbing it. I can say free money, new girls. I can say all sorts of things, and maybe you have to edit that part out because I'm YouTube. But sorry about that. But that's just, you get it. Well, that's easy. Anyone can do that. All right. Those are, and if you can fulfill on either one of those, knock yourself out. But that's not going to secure somebody's attention.
Right.
You need to secure it, and we're going to do that by creating little mini sales letters inside of our sales letter. And that goes for a VSL, a sales page, a blog post. This works for everything. Mini sales letters. Just write that down, because this is what you're going to do. So first, let's take a look at some really famous headlines that have pulled in hundreds of millions, if not billions, in sales. I go all the way back to the 40s, 50s, 60s for this stuff. They laughed when I sat down at the piano, but when I started to play,
John Caples, man.
Caples.
I still study that dude on a regular basis.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you a question. Do you even need to read the rest of the ad? Not really, but you want to, because it tells everything. Now, John Caples was a master at copywriting, a master headline author. And I'm telling you, that is a formula. And you're going to have to bear with me to prove it. Eugene Schwartzwelder, flush his fat right out of your arteries.
We're going through my bookcase over here, one book at a time. I love it.
Okay, flush his fat right out of your arteries. Does flush his fat right out of your arteries sound like you have to do a lot of work?
Nope.
No.
Sounds like I just got to toggle a little jiggle thing. There's like one thing I got to do, and then it does the rest. That's absolutely brilliant.
Would you believe this too is a formula? And when I say formula, that means that I can break this down for you and hundreds of others and let you use this as a chiropractor, or as a guy that sends affiliate ad traffic, or why on earth would you want to not use the formulas of the greats? How about Gary Halbert, the late great Gary Halbert? How to make money with your credit cards. That's a formula.
I haven't seen that ad. I haven't seen that. That's
it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. When you see it, it's just so brilliant.
Oh, that's so good.
Gary used just the same exact ad 3 or 4 different ways, because it's a formula.
Yeah.
Now, this one is the one that says, if you see a formula in this, John, then you've been eating paint chips. There's something wrong with you. My friend, John Carlton, we may be different in many ways, but we're still friends. And John is, in my opinion, the greatest living copywriter. So, amazing secret, even though I never use the word amazing, discovered by one-legged golfer, adds 50 yards to your drives, eliminate hooks and slices. I know nothing about golf, but I don't need to know anything about golf to know that this headline is incredible. So it's got every component you can ever think of. Now, I go through a whole course where I teach every component of all these historical headlines, why they work. But it's more important that we talk about the formulas that these headlines use, because believe it or not, John's is a formula. I know it does not look like that could be templatized, but it can.
Well, this is the matrix, right? This is the girl in the red dress versus the code is essentially what's going on here.
Yeah. So headlines done correctly create then subheadlines, which create a condensed mini sales letter. And I'm going to show you one of my subheadline tricks. This is something that I and John Carlton do, and I believe quite a few other people do. I took it probably to the farthest extent that I've seen, but maybe somebody else has taken it further. But this allows the skill it takes to write a headline. Obviously, you can write subheadlines. That skill, and then taking those subheadlines, as I'll show you, and creating little mini sales letters throughout your sales piece. That's what keeps securing attention. Does that make sense?
Yep.
because they're because no one is reading
right
until they stop. And you know what makes them stop? Sometimes it's a graphic. Most of the time it's a subheadline.
Yeah.
So if you're telling these little mini stories,
it's a promise in a little subheadline that's like, oh, that got me. Like it's something that overlaps with one of their personal hot buttons, because that person's up in their head thinking, what's in it for me? What's this about? No, I got all this stuff going on. I got these problems. What do I do? And then all of a sudden something links in with the conversation they're having with themselves in their head. And they're like, okay, hold on. They get me. Scroll slows. And now they're actually into that section of copy.
Now, let me blow your mind a little bit. What if those subheadlines could be read and you got the entire gist of your sales page?
So this is literally, it's a meta sales letter. So your sales letter has 2 sales letters in it. There's one, if the user reads every word top to bottom, which some people do, right? Your most ambitious people will, obviously they're going to go through the process, but for the scrollers and the scanners who are just going to go headline, subhead, and bullets, and bop, subhead, you're taking them through the same process in those. So even if they skim the whole thing, they get all of those main points that are required for them to be able to have the belief needed to make a buying decision by the time they scroll to the bottom to see the actual offer.
And you can watch your conversions double and triple if you use this technique.
Like it makes perfect sense. I'm not doing that with my wife's stuff yet. Like this is literally my next level.
I'm going to show it to you right here. Now, this is my old 4-day diet page that I read that I basically took the VSL that was doing so well back in the day, and then just pulled out the text and then used this technique. So this has been around for a while, but check this out. After a long journey filled with trials and errors, I finally discovered what actually works. Formula. Okay. Now, to succeed, we must leverage what's called rotational refeeding. It's based on rotating calories and fat. Here's a few quick tips for starting rotation. I'm literally reading a sales letter, okay, to you. So what's next for me? Introducing the 4-day. That's what's next for them. Will the 4-day diet work for? And this is where you go into all the objections. The 4-day diet can work when virtually nothing else will, delivering measurable results we can count on.
And for folks that are just listening real quick, because this is going to go on my podcast feed. So there's a bunch of text in between each one of those. Those are the subheads. So after a long journey filled with trials and errors, I finally discovered what actually works. There's 100 or something words below that. Then the next. So he just read the subheads, which means your users who have attention spans of goldfish right now are able to still get the gist in the right order, right? Because we don't give them the gist in the right order. They're not set up with the right beliefs at the right time to want what you have to offer. So whether they read every word or they scan it, they're going through the same kind of emotional, psychological process on page. That's freaking gangster, dude.
Yeah. And this is, so the skill that it took to write the page that you're looking at,
because they're all formulas.
90% of it, 90% of it came from, oh, by the way, do you spot something in the second subheadline?
Well, I mean, that's from your hook or from your big idea generate, right? The rotational refeeding thing.
Exactly. That's the hook. So now look at it. Rotational refeeding. What's that? It's based on rotating calories and fat. Here's a few quick tips for you. What's next for me? Okay. So I'm giving them knowledge, but they don't know enough to do anything about it. So the whole book is about this. So 4-day diet. It's all about rotational refeeding. So the hook had to happen. Then when the hook happened, I was able to work it into the subheadlines, but I had to know how to write headlines. And I had to know these formulas, but these are all formulas.
And you're pulling the words from the diary directly, which were actually words stated from people who actually have this exact problem, who are actually trying to solve it. They're figuring it out. And you're using, you're reflecting their words literally inside of all these formulas structured. I mean,
exactly. Yeah.
Like this is the game. This is the meta game, right? The people who get this and play this game and get good and build this skill, like recessions don't happen. Recessions happen and you're like, oh, cool. I'm going to buy another house and I'm going to go get a $1.7 million house for 1.2 because we're in a recession and I don't actually care because I know how to do this stuff.
Right. That's a very good way of putting it. Now, this particular sales letter was written long before I did the Advertiser's Diary. So if I would have done this sales letter with the Advertiser's Diary, it would have worked a lot better, a lot better. But still, this technique is something I've taught for years, but it's something that you have to know how to write the formulas for writing these headlines. And there are dozens and dozens of headline formulas I can teach you. I really teach quite a few in the course I teach, but I'm going to give you one simple example. Now I'm taking what my ideal buyer wrote. Let's go back to, cheating here, using Brenda, my ideal buyer, and combined it with my hook that you just saw from the hook map, more cheating, to create a headline. Now here's the formula. You can write this down. My free gift to you.
There it is.
A new solution to problem thanks to recently discovered hook. Now, this is a very simple headline. Very simple. This could be a subheadline. This sounds more like a subheadline, but there are headlines that are just as simple. This is also a very friendly as in compliant. This will get you by almost any sort of compliance issues, unless you say something crazy. A new solution to making
But I mean, the one-legged golfer fits into that, right?
Yes, it
right. That's
does.
that technically speaking, that would be the one-legged golfer headline fits into that with, you know, some Carlton-esque fluff around it.
It does, but the one-legged golfer is actually a different formula, and when you see it, it's a combination of two formulas. So
gotcha.
We won't go into it today, but it's when it's like you see it. And when I wrote the two, like when I go through the course, I write like, here's different alternatives, different variations on that, you know, for different like crypto or whatever. And you're like, wait, you're reading the crypto one going, that's, oh my God, I do see it. It is literally the woman in the red dress. But now let's apply Brenda in my hook and watch what happens. Ready? A new solution to feeling uncomfortable and closed, thanks to recently discovered skinny switch. As compliant as it gets. Almost tame. But I know Brenda and her ilk are saying, I feel uncomfortable in my clothes. And then thanks to recently discovered skinny switch, I've got anyone like her captivated at this moment. Now I bolded that so you would stick out, but she was the one that said what? I feel uncomfortable in my clothes. Okay. It's not that she says, I feel uncomfortable being fat. I feel uncomfortable being overweight. It was, I feel uncomfortable in my clothes. So I'm just using her words right back to her. A new solution to feeling uncomfortable in clothes. I don't say that. I took out the word your. Why? Because when you use a personal pronoun, you will get dinged usually by the social media giants. So you want
Facebook won't let you run it. Yep, for sure.
This is Facebook compliant.
Right.
This is totally Facebook compliant. Skinny switch.
And you know, my brain is just like, wow, I'm going to blast through it. I'm going to pop out 4 or 5 of these formula based things. I'm just going to split test them all against them. I'm going to let the data tells me which one converts best. And you know, like it's no longer, oh yeah, I'm going to sit down at a blank screen and like force myself to come up with something like impressive, which is the fucking worst feeling in the world, because nothing ever comes out of my head when I do that, other than like, oh, let's go look at Twitter. Instead, it's go through, craft a bunch of these. Personally, humbly, I'm like, okay, cool. I just wrote a bunch of them. Like, they all seem good. I have no fucking clue what's actually going to work.
Right.
Run them all, see what actually comes through. And then now we have a process to come up with ideas that are worthy of testing, which to me, that's the path to finding the offer that converts, is just a whole bunch of testing and then see what, just follow the data.
Yeah, exactly. So I break down why this headline works. And when we don't do this here, I do this in my course because there are very important things that I echo back to a lot of historical ads. I go, do you now notice the one word standing out here? You will in 1945, in 1951, in 1920, there was an ad. You'll notice it and go, oh my God, this is why this works. All you're doing is repeating what's already been proven to work. Let's look at another example of this. A new solution to crypto investing thanks to recently created Autobot algorithm.
That'll crush it in that space. I know enough about those people that they literally will line up and they will throw Ethereum at you for that.
Yeah. And in case you're wondering, I'm not a crypto expert. In fact, goodness knows that hardly anyone is, I don't think. But I came up with Autobot algorithm simply by doing a little mini version of my hook map just to do this one tutorial. So I don't know do you know what an Autobot algorithm? No, but even if you know what an Autobot is and you know what an algorithm is, well, so a bot, we know what it is, but I said Autobot. I added one word. Why did I do that? Because that was one of my associated what else's. What else is associated with this word? Well, I put automotive and I came up with Autobot. So these techniques are what gets you from point A to point Z. Totally awesome. So in reality, you have written none of the copy. It's hard to believe in those headlines because I wrote the template. I wrote the template and I dissected the templates for you. And then you just filled it in from your sheets. So it's just almost paint chip eating simple on how to do this. So, but here's what's not as paint chip eating simple. Doing it is one thing. I want to teach you how I've done it, why it works psychologically so that you can unlock your own psychological power and start doing it in every other place that you do it. Now, this copy converts because again, it's provided by your ideal buyer. It's words that they would use. So I'm going to dive into the third element real quick, Miles, because this one I think is my favorite because this skill shows up everywhere And yet people think of sales bullets as just the little bullet marks that you see in
Dude,
one
some
part of
people
the sales
use nothing but bullets for their entire sales pages. I mean,
cycle.
Ben Settle is literally
Ben
like his
Settle.
whole sales page is all bullets, and it
All
crushes.
bullets. Yeah, all bullets. So imagine if I could just teach you one thing and get you conversions like Ben Settle. Now, you might not know Ben Settle, but he's a killer.
He's
a
good.
Killer. Yeah, he's really good. So very bullet heavy. Okay, so I relied on some of the bullets of the giants to do this. Series of blonde curiosity phrases is what a bullet is. Designed to stand alone as a reason to buy. In other words, these are phrases that will pop out and someone will buy your product just because of some odd thing you said that seems to make no connection to, except for the feeling that you're wanting to convey. And we're going to talk about that. And when you stack these on top of each other over and over again, they create what I call the avalanche effect, which is a series of curious reasons to buy. So standing out, you're going to have one or two standing out as the reason to buy, but if you could create a whole avalanche effect, you're going to have a lot of reasons to buy. So let's look at some famous sales bullet examples real quickly. 4 devilish lies evil government officials tell hardworking Americans that tears thousands of dollars every year right out of your wallet.
That's awesome.
That
sounds like Agora right there. Like that sounds like
totally
it's going to run on Agora. It'll
totally
do well.
Agora. It's
Palm
totally
Beach
Agora,
letter, something like that.
So what if I told you, John, you're not going to tell me that that's a formula. That's a formula that you can replicate, and it won't sound anything like that, but it's the same formula. Yeah. And it's freaky when this is broken down. And I'm going to say this if I can. The one guy that can do this is the guy that figured out how to tear apart language to create an entire VSL or to create CopyPro, which is every little phrase has been pulled apart from each other. So we know the formulas of entire paragraphs and sentences that make persuasion. So these formulas are, I'm a pretty good guy at formulas. Here's the second one. How to erase fine lines and wrinkles using the juice from 2 common fruits. Just never drink it.
Ooh.
Yeah.
The
See, if I just use
part
just
makes you
exactly.
got to know.
But see, the warning part is the juice. It is, no pun intended, is what makes the bullet work. If I said just how to erase fine lines using 2 common fruits, somebody would think, well, I don't like fruit.
Yep.
But I said, just never drink it. Well, what the hell am I supposed to do with it?
Yep.
See, I've created curiosity, maybe even enough reason to buy the product. How about this one? The Post-it note trick used by the world's top CEOs and high achievers to do the work of 3 people with plenty of energy to spare. What on earth?
I got these right here. What are you telling me? What am I missing here, man?
Exactly.
Like they're sitting right next to me.
Those are 3 bullets. Okay. They're used all over the place, even in body copy. I will prove it to you. Here is, check this out. Celebrities, doctors, after dinner ritual melts 32,000 word pounds. That is a sales bullet. Yeah. That is a headline disguise. It says what disguises a headline. That's all that is. How do I find which Forex pairs and which best time for you to trade? Is common. That's a bullet. Yep. The one secret obsession holds the key to win. Oh, these are bullets. These aren't even great bullets. These are just bullets, but these are copy inside VSLs, which, by the way, happen to be all number one on ClickBank. So these are all the number ones. Okay.
And they're probably doing 7 figures a month. Like most number 1 category products are doing 7 to 8 figures.
7 to 8 figures. So there are about a dozen or so bullet formulas that I teach in the course, and to pull off all 90% you need to have and learn, that you need to really do, and that you can't, if you want 90% of your copy, you're going to need to learn these bullets because you're going to want to use them in different places. Otherwise you start sounding repetitive. Yet there's one formula. It's the one I'm going to teach you now. It's the simplest one because I give you about 60% of what you need. You'll get 60% of what you need from sales bullets, and I give you the majority of it in drop downs. So it's a very simple formula. It's called lead, verb, hook, turn, close. Lead, verb, hook, turn, close. Now that formula looks like nothing, right? There's nothing that comes out of here. So most of my formulas have words and then what you want to put in there, and then more words, what you want to put in there. The reason I'm showing you this one is because this one looks like nothing. But the thing is I give you all the leads to choose from, all the verbs to choose from, all the turns to choose from, and even some of the closes. So you don't have to do much. But notice
the hook you got from your other exercise.
Yeah. Now the hook in this is a little different. The hook is, this is more the benefit. It's more like what the topic is. Okay. So the hook is not even as hard as the hook formula. It's just the topic. Let me give you examples, and I'm going to give you step by step during this. Okay. So what is a lead? One quick tip to finally. Now, bear in mind, you didn't write this. I gave you a list of 100 leads, and you just chose one. You can choose one at random. It doesn't really matter. A simple test too. Better than blank. This works to ... Okay, those are leads. Those are leads and a hook, all of which you didn't write because I gave them to you. Okay, so I just chose any three at random. Okay, now let's go on. Let's look at the verbs. Again, you're not going to write these. You're going to choose these from my list of what I call juicy verbs. I've done whole videos on juicy verbs. Juicy verbs are verbs you cannot help but see. They're not verbs you just hear. They're verbs that create a visceral reaction.
Pictures.
So if I say, I want to help you burn fat versus I want to help you incinerate fat, which is the juicier verb?
Incinerate, man.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
let's do it. I'm ready.
But
Like, I don't want to just burn it. I want this shit gone, melted, smoke. Yeah. Like it's, 100% forceful.
In other words, I could take one word and create an ad that gets far better conversions because I understand the power of verbs. In fact, one quick tip to finally incinerate. Okay. How about this one? A simple test to discover. Okay. So discover is such a commonly used verb. It doesn't exactly leap out at the visual side, but I want you to know that you don't also always have to use those super juicy verbs. Discover is a juicy verb because people want to discover things. It's just one of the most famous verbs ever used. Better than blank. This works to erase. It's like, well, we could erase debt, erase it, but it doesn't matter what the topic is at this point. Erasing
wrinkles
something,
to debt, it works perfect.
Yeah, look at this. You could just, can't you just hear the pencil being erased? Yes. Okay, so now I've got step 2. Let's look at step 3. This is the part that you would have to write. One quick tip to finally incinerate stubborn fat. But what if I was a really bad writer and I just said fat? Still works because the stuff around it's good.
But if you zero in on belly or thigh fat or stubborn fat or a type of fat,
fat is even better because I actually have that as one of my examples. So that incinerate stubborn fat. So it's stubborn. Now, where did I get the word stubborn from? Well, I didn't have to look far. Brenda said it. I'm not on the pages that you saw, but on the other pages, she called it her stubborn fat pockets.
Yep.
So I could literally say incinerate stubborn fat pockets if I wanted to be even more precise. A simple test to discover if your metabolism is broken. So in other words, this is like if that you have something inside the book that you know that you're going to talk about. But if that was poorly written, it would say, if you have a bad metabolism, or if your metabolism sucks, or if you have a slow metabolism. Well, let's just take it. So anyone can write that. So if you are in the weight loss space, you know exactly what a slow metabolism means. So this is not, it's like a 5th grader to you writing this stuff.
Yep.
I said, if your metabolism is broken, because you know why? My ideal avatar said, I feel broken. Yep. Now look how awesome the copy became. So you think I wrote it, I made it better? No, I just stole the word from her. And her being, again, like lots of people put together. Better than skin cream. This works to erase fine lines and that post-baby tired look. Got that from another avatar's diary. Fine line, that post-baby tired look. Never heard of it before. I'm not into this stuff. So I didn't even have to write that. So let's go to step 4. Okay. Details on page 6. Now, see, it's starting to sound like a bullet. These are all, by the way, just drop downs that you would just choose from. However, you must. Now look at the difference when I do that. A simple test to determine if your metabolism is broken. However, you must. Wait, it's not just a simple, there's something there. Does that sound familiar?
My seat. I'm on the edge. Like this
just
is
don't drink it.
Must keep reading. Yeah, totally.
Just don't drink the fruit. I'm going to give you the fruits. Just don't drink it. It's like, what? Better than skin cream. This works to erase fine lines and that post-baby tired look. Do it using only. And again, these are just drop downs. These are just formulas I've created. Do it using only. Only what? Now you're going to be forced to create something to fill in that blank. And that's what I want you to do. I am opening your brain to becoming more creative by forcing you to, not by force in a negative way, but by literally saying, hey, your brain is going to, if you ask the right questions, your brain is so sophisticated, it will give you the right answers. And you will not believe what newbies came up with do it using only. I have heard some stuff come out of people go, oh my God, that was freaking brilliant. Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. So this is where the brilliance comes from.
It makes it like improv. It makes it like a fun improv experience versus like, oh, I'm going to go do this hard, difficult work thing. It's like, no, I'm going to play like free random word association and look for something that kind of like sings.
Exactly.
You know, when you hear it stuff.
Everyone can do this. Everyone's played the games. Everyone's done this kind of stuff, Mad Libs, but this is making copy Mad Libs kind of fun. So now I gave you an idea And I wanted to show you what bad copy would look like, and it still works. One quick tip to finally incinerate stubborn fat, details on page 6. You've never seen this before, guaranteed. Now, it's not that it's bad copy. It's actually okay to say, hey, you've never seen this before. But just anyone can write that line. That doesn't have any sort of, Benson-esque oomph to it. You know what I'm saying? But that doesn't have to, because you've got it all over the place. Now you've got a complete bullet. A simple test to determine if your metabolism is broken. However, you must do this first thing in the morning before eating. I've just increased your curiosity.
I have to know what that is.
I have to know what it is. What is it? The first thing I got to know, right? Better than skin cream. This works to erase fine lines. It's supposed to be entirely. Do it using only one common household item found right in your pantry. Yeah. Now we're into Gary Halbert kind of bullets and everything. And
the level. But I think it's important to reiterate that the bullets are so powerful. People buy entire courses and entire books because of one bullet. Like literally there's someone who would read this and be like, okay, like I actually do think my metabolism is broken. It's been this little sneaky belief I've had for a long time. And when they read this middle bullet, a simple test to discover that your metabolism is broken. However, you must do this first thing in the morning before eating. And you've got a really good offer, and you've got a really good money back guarantee, and you take all the risk away, and you throw some testimonials on the page. Duh, it's sold. Like go try it. Publish
you're 90% there. Yeah.
You're over 90% there. Yeah, it's brilliant.
So, do you mind if I offer your folks something?
Please.
Okay. Would you like to have access to the entire system that I teach, including the option to become certified by me personally as a copywriter? I have never done this before. In fact, the very first time I made this offer to anyone, it was all in Portuguese. It was in Brazil. So this is the very first time it's being made. Even to my own list, this offer's never been made. So I wanted to choose somebody that I knew. First of all, I wanted to do it in a casual setting. Second of all, I wanted to do something that I knew that would help Miles's channel, because he's helped me so much. I knew it would be win-win. So this is as new gets, but this is happening, and it will become, if I do say so myself, the gold standard of certification. So I would love to share this with you. I call this Copy Essentials for obvious reasons. It covers the 3 essentials of 90% of copy that you will ever need to write. That's what Copy Essentials is. I want to go over some details here. First of all, you can pick up this really beautiful certification badge. If you so choose, you don't need to do that. Certification is more expensive than just the course. But if you're a copywriter, or if you just want to add something, a badge to your little honorary list of badges, this is a really good one to have, because Copy Essentials is super important. Now, here's what's going to become in that. You're going to get the whole Avatar's Diary course. And I do consider that the next best thing to mind reading your ideal buyer, and attaching them immediately to what you're wanting. You're just going to attach them by talking to them the way that you want, the way that they speak. You attach them very much like a parasite, but in a good way. They're just going to go like this because you're speaking their language. Just try the imago therapy thing tonight with your mate. Speak back what he or she said to them word for word if you can, and just see what happens on their face. I'm going to teach you to do that to total strangers. Now, I sell just the diary for $9.97. These are no bullshit prices. This is what we sell this for. You're going to get that hook system training. Now, I sold the hook map training when I originally did it for $2,500. So that $497 is a little bit off. I sold it for $2,500. But the difference is that I went through it all individually with just 10 people. So the only thing I've ever taught from here is this, and I've given some people some tips on Avatar's Diary, but this system is together has never been taught before to anyone in the United States. So I lowered that to $497 because I felt like, if I'm not there, it's not fair to charge that same kind of money. And I think that that's more of a fair price for that, but we are toying around with bumping that up. The headline and system formulas, both at $497 each. That's going to give you all the formulas, but also more than that, why they work and how to use this inside copy. So not just, oh, you're going to write a headline, you're going to sub in. No, you're going to walk away from here, and I'm not bullshitting you. You're going to walk away writing an entire ad, more than one if you want to, opt-in page, thank you page, and the first part of a whole freaking sales letter with just these 3 things. Okay, I proved that in the course. I literally show it to you. So it's crazy what you're going to get out of this. You're also going to get the sales bullet formulas for $497, and that comes out to $2,488, which isn't true because I forgot to take out the Brazilian real. So pardon me for that. So that is actually, I think that is right about right, $2,488, but the R in front of that is for the Brazilian reals. That shows you that I'm not bullshitting you with selling this in Brazil. So that's a pretty lucrative little thing. But I tell you, I want to make this even better. I love bonuses. But let me tell you first, when I told Jay Abraham, I was speaking with him in Brazil, He said, so I heard you came out with a copy course. I go, yeah, it's a certification course. He goes, what's just the course sell for? And I told him, and he looked at me, he goes, he said, oh, so it's like super ridiculously cheap. Are you sure you want to do that? So he thought this was ridiculously cheap, but I'm going to make it even better. I want to talk about the $1 million page. So people try to guess what to put on a sales page all the time. Like, how should it look? What, how should I format this? What needs to go here? But I'm going to make sure that you never have to guess by doing this, because I'm going to show you the layout that I use specifically for VSLs and webinar replays. And these are $300 million plus kind of VSLs. We're talking like really high dollar, high converting VSLs. And they are very simple. You won't believe really how simple these pages can be. And that will take a lot of stress off of you when you're trying to say, well, what am I going to do if I put a VSL together, or if I put a webinar together, or if I put a little short video together using all this stuff you're going to teach me? What page, what does it want, what should it look like? Well, this will tell you exactly. So all the guesswork is kind of removed. Now, if you hired me to write copy, you pay a lot more than you're about to invest here. I mean, that's clear. Just to give you an idea, not to brag, please don't take this the wrong way. I'm $5,000 an hour to consult with, and my consulting schedule is getting a little bit hectic these days. I'm $30,000 a day, and to write a VSL starts at about $50,000. So that gives you an idea of what copywriters can make, and maybe that will inspire you, because I charge up to $2,000 per email, for example, to write an email. So the average rate on AWAI for just emails, which by the way, emails are easy after this, are anywhere between $200 and $2,000 an email
per email.
Per email. Just go look it up yourself. So that's a B or C level copywriter. So I just telling you that there's really good money to be had out here. So, but if you hired an average copywriter, it's going to cost you tens of thousands of dollars if you do this. So if you're not a copywriter, or if you want to become a copywriter, it's impossible. I would say it's next to impossible, not impossible to become one, but certainly impossible to master it in a day's time, in 24 hours. Or at least get it under your fingers in 24 hours. It might take you longer to master it, but to get it to where you can use it, 24 hours.
In motion. Yeah.
Come on, man.
Competence, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Being unconsciously competent. That's where we want to get you. So the money you're going to save just by avoiding bad copy. What Miles is talking about, 300% increase on his opt-in pages, right? Those kind of things are what you can experience if you know this stuff. So I want to give you the Copy Essentials course today for just $797. And I want to break that down for you and why I'm doing it for $797. First of all, that's not the certification courses. Those are more expensive. Those are only going to be for people that are really serious about that, and that maybe want to go on to my Copy Mastery and then Copy VIP. There's 3 sections to this entire course. So if this is what I want to give to as many people as I can, and when I sold this originally, it was $1997. That's what I was going to sell it for in Brazil. And then the guys just talked to me and said, well, the guys I'm selling to in Brazil said, look, there's no way they're going to be able to afford that here. There's people that are very wealthy in Brazil, but that's just beyond what they're used to expecting. And I had a really hard time with this, Miles. I was like, look, when people have gone through this, I've had some of the best marketers and copywriters take this course, and I gave it to them. I wanted their feedback. This, hands down, the best course they've ever taken on the subject. Not just saying that, bullshit. Matt Stafford wrote me a beautiful testimonial on this, but I couldn't do this for under $1,000. And then it was my assistant who gave me the idea. It's like, well, why don't you just take out the certification part and at least give someone the course? So they have the materials in their hands. Yeah. They don't have everything. They don't have the certification. They don't have the coaching. They don't have any of that, but they can get it, and they can optionally get it. And this way we can have a lot more people, a lot more folks on YouTube, a lot more people get this. And if I can help do this, so you've heard some of the testimonials that Miles gave for the VSL. If I can help, hopefully thousands of marketers do better with their copy, then it's going to be well worth that. So that's a 69% discount. Great number. And you can go to jonbenson.com/miles to pick that up. JON, by the way, if you're listening, JONBENSON.com/miles. That page will be live by the time that you see this, and you can pick it up there. It's never going to be cheaper than what you see. And also what better channel to support? So listen, if you want to know the secret behind copy that sold literally billions of dollars, that's not an exaggeration, and launched many 7 to 9 figure businesses, this is where the foundation starts. This is why I call it Copy Essentials. These 3 things are the essential foundation of 90% of it. If you want to blow past any sales goal that you have for marketing this year, build an online business. That's what Miles was talking about earlier. That's more stable and predictable. I use the phrase predictable income, which, by the way, maybe try to test that out, Miles. I'll give that to you. I use it all the time. I use it with my wife. Hey, let's build predictable income. Well, that's the same kind of the same thing as automated income. We can predict it, but it's not as easy sounding as automated. But you need to know the words that your ideal buyers, your ideal prospects are using to talk between themselves. That's what you need to do. And you need to use those words back to them. You don't need to be super uber creative. I can be kind of the creative writer at times and got to get out of my own head. Just talk their freaking language. Okay. Or if you just want to earn the money that you and your family deserve without wasting tons of it on bad copywriters. Okay. I think copywriting can take you to the point where you want to be financially. It can certainly rescue businesses from recessions. It can make someone what I call recession-proof. And obviously you don't want bad sales pages, bad DSLs, and you can learn this stuff in less than a day. Okay. It's not even a 24-hour course. Like you can take the course literally in less than an 8-hour day. Okay. JonBenson.com/miles. That will give you everything that you see here, copy essentials. And if you want certification, you can optionally choose to do that. Now, opportunities like this, I don't think come along all the time. Yet what's more important than this is your marketing future we're talking about, because I guarantee you, Miles is the guy that eschews, even eschews webinars. So this is kind of like this part's a little webinar, but it's really not, because we're just kind of talking to you. And I just need the slides to be able, as you can tell, I couldn't teach this stuff by memory. I have to have it in front of me. I use these formulas. Okay. But we are talking about your marketing future, because I guarantee you, Miles will echo this. I'd be shocked if he didn't. This is the skill that separates people from giving up online and becoming employable to making yourself unfucking fireable. Yeah. You can't be the rainmaker because no one can hire you.
100%.
Okay. That's my word. Unfucking fireable. I have to kind of censor that on YouTube and call it unfireable, but that's what I'm talking about. The one skill that you can guarantee you'll always be able to earn a living from, because it is the skill to sell. And I just translate that selling into writing words that sell. It's persuasive copy. And you've heard me say this is ethical persuasion. Nothing in here comes from a state of lying or even exaggeration. It comes from taking a problem and analyzing it, blowing the problem up, solving the problem with an ethical offer, and saying this aligns with your core values and beliefs. It's that simple. Okay. Yeah. Even in the worst recession, this can work. There's not a pro marketer anywhere that will tell you differently. Copy is simply king when it comes to predictable online income. So I firmly believe having the skill of copywriting under your belt makes you all but unfireable, So look, you get to take advantage of this now with Miles and I, if you want. I think he knows that this works. I think he stands behind this. Otherwise he wouldn't do this. 100%. And we just want to help you out during these business times. And I want you to remember something. You can learn everything you need to write 90% of the copy in under a day. And I guarantee that if that doesn't work for you, I don't want your money. So one last time, here's the URL, JonBenson.com, JonBenson.com/miles. Go to that. Go to that page right now. And I will tell you this, as of recording this video with Miles, which I can't wait to get back to our screenshot here, but as of recording this with Miles, this is not even on my own website. And I doubt it will be on there by the time this airs. That's how I am unbelievably freaking busy. And to the point now where it's like, it's almost comical, except it's not funny. So if you go to JonBenson.com and you don't find this, except for JonBenson.com/miles, you won't find it as onto my products and other things I've got. You won't find it. I don't think I'll have it up by the time it gets there. So you are getting this fresh and foremost, and that means
kind of pre-releasing it.
Pre-release, man. You don't need to
totally.
That.
And I appreciate it. Yeah, man. And thank you, because it's like, to be perfectly honest, this is what I wish I would have gotten my hands on in, I'd like to say 2004, but to be perfectly honest, about 2011, when my wife and my business had a little bit of traction and I started to smell the truth that the conversion game was superior to the traffic game. And from that point, it took me years to get the basics of this. Literally, like I was even saying like, oh, you're talking about Mark Ford, he's the lead. Like I've read all the fucking books. They're like on here. Do you know how long it takes to read and go through all the books and to find the swipe files like you do? I mean, I'm still printing out, got them right there. Like I'm still printing out old swipe files from old PDFs and having them mailed to me to go through them. Part of it's hobbyist now, but the other part of it was, I felt like I was the guy in the Matrix staring at the Matrix thinking like, I know there's I know there's another level here. I know there's something else going on. Like the 7 and 8 figure earners in our industry are playing a different game that I'm playing.
Yeah.
And when you look around at all of the 7-figure, whether they're ethical or not, like everyone is building lists, making offers, selling through either text pages and video pages. You want to call a webinar something different. It's literally, it's text or video. It's core sales copy, making offers that actually help people. And when that works mathematically through conversion rates that are measurable and the simple third grade math, once that works, that's where scale comes from. Right. And scale is traffic, and you just pour traffic on. And it really, when you have an offer that converts, I'm taking my exact same offers that have been converting for organic SEO for 10 years now. They've been converting on Facebook ads for 6 years now. And I'm making new creative that fits TikTok naturally. And guess what's happening? I'm driving tons of sales. Like it's just, it's turning on. Like I'm just literally turning on a new faucet of conversions from this other place with all of that copy that's just been proven and tested and built for years. And it's built on the fundamentals, right? That idea that fundamentals win championships. And I do think that like the best of the best in the game playing, and I don't know, you know, it's arguable who, like in the IM space, like the Mike Dillards, the Frank Kerns, the guys who are just like, they're just really freaking good at what they do, right? They're really good at the fundamentals. They come up with really good offers that solve really big problems, and they communicate them effectively.
Absolutely.
And this is the communicate what you have effectively portion, which is the gap that I had in when I was struggling to make $3 grand a month, struggling to make $5 grand a month, to go from that to like literally when we cracked off our first 30 grand, I do think my first 30 grand month was more exciting and fun than my first 100 grand month. I don't know why. It just, it blew my mind at that scale. And now at this point, 100, 150, 200 reaching, it's like, it all kind of muddles together, but bridging the gap from feeling like I might have to go back and get a job, like seeing where I was as being mildly precarious because I was 100% reliant on Google traffic. I was 100% reliant on these third-party algorithms that were in control of my destiny. And then to finally have the skills to be able to craft an opt-in offer, to put up an opt-in page with a headline, and I do headline, 3 bullet points, call to action. That's it. Converting 67, 75% of traffic for those. And then my one-time offers that can convert 2 to 4%. Why? Because it's got a great headline. It's got a great hook. It brings them through. The bullet points loaded up. We make I'm following the fundamentals that I learned through 5 years of trial and error. And like, you could do it in a day. Yeah, it's $700, but you're going to save 3 years of time, and you're going to have it all right there laid out with your drop downs, with all the bits and pieces in it.
And it's the knowledge that you're going to gain from this. I mean, it's if you just did nothing more than the avatar's diary, if you just did that, your sales and business are just going to increase because you're going to know your avatar, and you're going to know all these places I go to find them, which are some of the places are just kind of surprising, you know, and list them off inside the course, and like, you won't believe what you can find if you go here. But just doing that level of research is just going to separate you from so many people that do no research at all. They have no idea who they're talking to, or they think they know, or worse than that, Miles, they believe they are their avatar, which is the mistake I made with Fit Over 40 when I started marketing it myself. When Tom marketed it, he did great, but I just assumed I put myself on the cover of the magazine or the cover of the book, you know, and I thought, oh, you know, Fit Over 40, they're going to see a muscular 40-year-old. Wrong. It was just, if I only knew what I know now, I knew back then, but I didn't. So there's so many mistakes that could have avoided.
All of that happened because this is what you're supposed to do, right? Like you had to have those challenges to come up with these formulas to break it down to this level, to be able to bring it out to the next generation. And I really think that what we're doing here today is we're giving like my audience the opportunity to kind of like focus in. Here's one thing you need, ignore 100% of the other stuff going on right now, literally zero in on this like a laser, and craft offers. And the offers can be your blog posts. They can be better leads. They can be the subject lines and the hooks on your emails to get a better click-through rate on your emails. Like when you start to realize there's all these little data points, everywhere in your business, right? The click-through
Yeah.
rate on your organic Google traffic, the click-through rate and the open rate of your email. You can start to monitor how good you are getting at applying the fundamentals of copywriting everywhere in your business.
Yeah.
And you'll see your click-through rate on that post goes up. And then you see your opt-in rate on your pop-up goes up a little bit. And then you see the conversion rate on your OTO goes up a little bit because you've now put these fundamentals through everything. But this is the magic of compounding, is those aren't additive. So if you get 1% increase here, 1% increase here, 1% increase here, that's not a 3% increase in your revenue. That, if you're converting at 1% on your sales page, you get a 1% increase. That's 100% more money from the exact same traffic that you had, because you are more effectively able to meet them where they are. Gary Vaynerchuk talks about that empathy all the time. And I think most people aren't doing enough research. They're not digging in enough to really understand not just the pain points, but how they describe their problems, you know, that diary type stuff. That's the secret.
That's it, man.
It's not about making up things to write. It's about finding the things that they're saying. And it's about finding the things that they're kind of beating themselves up over, meeting them there and showing them a new, interesting, big idea way to get to where they actually want to be. And then obviously have a kick-ass product that helps them get there, right? That's
exactly it, man. I mean, it's you put that formula together, and it's really, you have to kind of work at failing at that point. If you have all of those clicking, you have an offer that just people want, you have an irresistible offer for it, which, you know, again, it's like the price points for these things can all vary. So your offer, you know, should have a price point that is probably a little higher than you think, but it's still affordable to the people that you want. Because again, you want your ideal buyers. You don't want to sell something for $29 unless it's, you know, a low dollar product, you know, just so you can get more buyers, because you're not going to have the ideal buyers. You want to attract your ideal buyers. But if you have the psychology of the ideal buyer and you're speaking to them in their language, you know, and you're doing it subtle, and eventually, because all throughout this presentation, I did the same thing, but I'm doing it in a much more subtle fashion, because again, mastery is not essentials goes into mastery. I can teach somebody how to play, I'm a bass player, so I can teach somebody how to play a simple bass line, and they can finger around with the bass line and they can kind of get that down. They're not going to master the feel of it right away, but they could go to a party and go, oh, look, I can play this little bass part. And I just started this yesterday, and people are going, oh, that's really great. You know, and so he's accomplished what his goal was. In this case, was to get a little attention, get a little chick love, get whatever he's looking for, you know, get a little ego stroke. But to master something, of course, that requires practice. But guess what? Can't master anything without getting the essentials. And that's why championships are won on the essentials. And that's why copy is won right here, I think, in the essentials. So getting the essentials down, I made it as easy as humanly possible. It's never going to be easy, but it's as easy as humanly possible, which is all anyone can ask.
You get into momentum, right? So that bass player, for example, they go to the party, they're playing that one tablet thing, they, you know, smoke on the water, here it comes. And people are like wowed by that. And they go home and they get the serotonin, they get the dopamine, all that brain chemistry. But that also gets them motivated to do the next lesson, to learn. So it's this kind of like stacking the basics fundamentals to get you into motion. And then you're like, whoa, my first opt-in page that I did just pulling shit out of thin air, 18% conversion rate. I took the headline and the hook and the bullets and I made an opt-in page, and now I'm getting a 45%. Holy shit, that's a 3x increase. And then you start to build the belief, I can do this. You start to build the belief, this works. You actually see not 2 leads on your list every day, but now you're getting 12 leads to your list. And it creates this, like, you get the momentum, that wave of momentum behind you. And I don't know, like, it's when the mindset starts to agree with, like, you know, this isn't abstract, this isn't terrible, this isn't difficult, like, I can do this, I have formulas and processes. Now you engage with it, you start to get that feedback loop going, you do it again and again. This is my whole game. And then, like, last note, you can automate all the traffic. Like, I have a traffic guy now, you have a traffic guy now. Like, I used to be the traffic guy, and it's a lot of freaking work. So if you're just starting and you don't have a budget, great. Here's what you do. You go craft your offers, you follow the process, you start selling stuff that generates revenue. What do you do with your revenue? You invest it in a traffic person to manage that side for you. And you go all in on this, and you literally have everything you need to build. I mean, I've got a multiple 7-figure business. Like, I know this runs 8-figure businesses, and I bet you could point to some 9-figure businesses, which is over 100 million a year business, that run on this same like business model that we're all playing.
Absolutely. I was the Entra Institute is a really awesome group of people, 200 and something person company, $100 million company. Jeff reached out and said, hey, we're looking for a head copywriter. Do you know anyone? Obviously, because, I deal with a lot of copywriters, and I knew the offer so well. I was like, what if you paid me a lot more than you would pay your copywriter? And I didn't work, but on whenever I kind of wanted to, because I'm on a retainer. And I just helped your copywriters get this stuff under their belt. So I gave them all of the training for, not all of it, actually. I didn't give them the essentials part because I didn't have it, but I gave them the avatar's diary. I gave them the hook system. And then they were able to build a copywriting team to support this, but their business was built on copy, just sheer, and without, copy and obviously products that people like, but copy drove everything. And they built $100 million business off of a freaking free or $27 download, depending on which one you go to. So again, what are the words on those page? Why did it work? All that stuff. This is all covered in Copy Essentials. That's why I think it's super important to learn this stuff. You need to learn why certain things have worked so that you can apply it, get out of just your one way of thinking through it, and then presto changeo. It's a matter of time until you hit something that's going to really pay off.
I mean, they sold $50 million worth of this book. It was a 4-pay of $6.99. They sold 50 million bucks of it. How? From writing copy that just literally, it's all full of bullets. Like literally it's all, and this was a Ben Savanga, who's, just one of the absolute greats. But it's like, I just did a video recently of like, are you making your business too hard? Because so many people in my audience are literally, they're on the treadmill's up full speed. They're trying to spin 372 plates at the same time. And my wife and I are working on 3 things: really good ads to get people to look at our lead magnets, and then really good offers that are inside of our lead magnets. Add, lead magnet, offer. And we're making 7 figures, right? We've been doing $1 million a year every year for years on years. And now most of my products are actually 27 to 47 bucks. Like we just play a volume game. I want the customer list. It's kind of a Jay Abraham type angle on business. I'm getting mailing addresses. Like I want the old school. I want access. Even if email shuts down, I'll be able to mail my people offers. I am recession-proofing my business in a major way, which is what I recommend.
So smart. Yeah.
Dude, I'm going back in time and everything. I grow my own fucking food like my grandparents did. I don't know what's going on here. I'm literally going back in time to the 1930s or 40s or something. And minted, and I love it. And it is really the meta skill. It's as I traveled the world to all of the different speaking engagements that I've done and meeting so many entrepreneurs, the ones who understand how to sell through copy are the ones making millions. The ones who don't understand how to sell through copy are struggling.
It's real simple. It is the universal skill. And I think in fairness, now again, copy mastery, which ironically is the second course, but copy mastery, mastering copy is much more of a challenge. That's where you go into, being able to craft entire 7-figure, 8-figure offers. But to get there, you would be surprised how just getting the essentials down will take you so much further than you can imagine. I'm telling you, it's 90% of the task. It really is. And so you have to start at the essentials, and just having this under your belt, whether you're a copywriter right now, I guarantee you, I put copywriters, I went through the beta of this. I went put copywriters through this, and they're like, okay, this just, feels like cheating. But that's what I want people to say. It feels like cheating. It feels like I'm doing something wrong. You're not. You're actually just doing research, and you're using formulas that work. And more importantly, it's going to unlock your own creative juices, which is what I want. I will never want you to say, oh, you just have to copy and paste stuff and off you go, because that's bullshit. You can start with that, and you should start with that. But then I want you to, because I've opened up your creative mind, which I showed you how I did it. I showed you the whole asking certain questions that evokes certain parts of your subconscious and conscious mind that you're simply not used to exercising. When you do, that's when that thing called flow state happens. And all of a sudden creativity pops out of nowhere. That's because you're training your brain to do it. And very much like a muscle, like I'm about to go train again. It's like you train your muscles to do certain things. They grow a certain way or act a certain way. Same thing with your brain, and same thing with your copy. So I hope that this really does help you, man. I really hope that I know it will. So
that's awesome. All right, everybody. So johnbenson.com/miles, go get access, jump in, like commit to the actual skill that makes a difference. Like, don't be foolish, like do the intelligent thing. If you want to learn it the hard way and spend years going through the books, obviously that's a path that I've took and other people take. But when it comes down to the skill that really makes all the difference, and the timing we have right now with everything getting squeezed, like now is the time to pull the trigger to skill up, because once you've got those skills built, you're unfireable, you're unrecessionable. And as John said with his first story, right, when you dial this stuff in, it happens quick. I mean, when you got that copy on your first book and they ran the traffic and the JVs hit it and it converted and it scaled. I mean, when you see hundreds and thousands of sales coming in per day, I don't give a shit if you're selling a $17 thing or a $20 thing or a $100 thing. You're going to be refreshing your email like,
it was getting the refresh button.
You watch it and it's ding, ding, ding. And you're like $70, $20, $50, $70, 20. And we want, because I got bumps and upsells. So even though I sell $27 products, my average order value is often 80, you know, and we send out an email and we just watch it. And like the day goes from $2,000 to $5,000 to $7,000 to $9,000. And it's like, holy shit, I'm out playing, I'm paddleboarding, because the automated salesperson that we built through copy, following these processes, does all the heavy lifting.
That's what it's there for. You know,
all right, John, exactly what it's any wise sage words of wisdom for the next generation of internet entrepreneurs here on YouTube, why we got them?
I can tell you this much, that all the answers that you're looking for are in the past. You may have technologies like TikTok, for example, that's relatively emergent. You may have something come around the bin next year or the year after that, that's some sort of funky AI or whatever. It's still going to reside for a long, long time in the fundamentals, in the basics. All the great copywriters of today are echoing the great copywriters of yesterday, who echoed the great copywriters before them, because persuasion and the art of persuasion is not changed, because the psychology of humans haven't changed. Now, what has changed and what you do need to know is, number one, we've made it easier. Number two, how you use it in certain settings. Like, can you use this in clicks for your emails? Yeah, you should. What should your email subject line be? What should your click text be? There's an answer to that. Those are all specific answers. And so learning all this stuff together in one simple course, that I think is relatively new. And so being able to give people that kind of ability to where you're digesting 100 years of data in under a day, that's pretty cool. So that's pretty neat. Until Elon perfects the neural link thing and we can just instantly download stuff.
We're back to the Matrix. They plug it in.
Next best thing. Back to
I know Kung Fu.
That's fair. I know Kung Fu. But yeah, so this is the next best thing.
Cheers. I appreciate you, John. So everybody still watching, johnbenson.com/miles. The links are all below. Be sure to subscribe to John's channel. Also, stay in tune. Work on the skill that's going to get you where you actually want to go, right? Don't climb the ladder and realize you had your ladder up against the wrong freaking wall. Put your ladder on a 7 or an 8-figure wall, and you can create quite the lifestyle playing the right games. And this is the game to play, in my personal opinion.
Yeah. We live on a beach because of this, because that's the skill you need. So thank you, Miles, for letting me share this with you guys. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate it, John. All right. We'll be in touch, and we'll catch you on the next one.
All right. Take care.